Loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Here's Cameron Elliott.
We got this big, long stretch of slowing now on southbound I-15 as you come through South Salt Lake into Murray. It's due to a controlled slowdown by a trooper from what we've seen so far. I'm going to speculate when I say that it was likely debris in the roadway that they had to clear out, so they had to slow traffic down for a while because there isn't any crash that I can see on any of the monitors here. But we'll keep you updated on that as we learn more about it. Otherwise, northbound I-15 still looking good besides some very minor slowing down the south interchange and at Point of the Mountain. And the surface streets, of course, we've got the typical delays on the Mountain View corridor around 5400 south and 3500 south, but things are looking pretty good as the morning commute goes by. Cormac?
Got some very light delays on southbound I-15 in Weber County approaching 21st Street, just a little slow there. And then the last of I-15 delays coming into Salt Lake County from Davis County, just working their way out near Warm Springs Road on South 15. Also just barely slow there. Eastbound I-80, that's where you've got some heavier traffic in the right lane from Kimball Junction over to the US 40 interchange. Kings return in concert July 20th at Sarah Shell. For tickets, call 225-ARTS or online at sarah.org. That's SCERA.org. Kings return live July 20th at Sarah Shell in Orem. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
90s today, 100 tomorrow. We'll get up to 106 by Sunday. Right now, it's 82 degrees downtown.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. The preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, is expected to wrap up today or tomorrow. We're also now hearing from President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who attended the hearing earlier this week in Provo.
It was important to be there and to see the actual facts laid out, Bill, because there was so much stuff that, amidst the noise and the internet chatter that was laid out that, I had never heard and makes this case very cut and dry to me.
That was Donald Trump Jr. speaking with Fox News. Prosecutors today are planning to show part of a video interview with Robinson's former roommate and romantic partner. We'll have full coverage for you as the hearing progresses. Fire crews spent the night mopping up hot spots after multiple grass fires broke out in the Salt Lake Valley. One was around 5600 west and 200 south. It burned about 5 acres, starting near I-80 and spreading south to near the Maverick at 300 south. The gas station was evacuated as a precaution, and several power poles caught fire, causing outages. Another fire started near 7200 west and I-80 eastbound. This one also burned about 5 acres. Crews were able to get it out in a few hours. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. It's unclear where the U.S. and Iran ceasefire agreement stands after President Trump declared it over.
A new round of U.S. attacks on Iran, larger in scope than those the night before, according to a U.S. official, striking at least 90 military targets. The president in Turkey at the NATO summit saying he was done talking to Iran. But last night on Air Force One, returning from the summit, the president claiming that the Iranians called him, wanting to make a deal.
ABC News Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 132 points today to 52,485. Coming up, it's going to be hot today, and we're looking at possibly record-breaking temperatures over the weekend. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
It is July, and it is getting hot. For years, I've always called July the patriotic month. Not only do we have national celebrations, but we have the state celebration as well, and it's time to get the perfect steak going on the grill, but not your grill. The grill that is waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I know we like to think that we're pretty good, as a backyard barbecuer, and some no, but Ruth's Chris will always present the perfect steak in a wonderful environment where it's air conditioned. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about anything other than sitting back with friends, neighbors, and family and enjoying the best meal you have ever had. 275 Southwest Temple. That's Ruth's Chris right here in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. If you're heading up into the mountains, Hotel Park City. It's the perfect meal for July waiting for you at Ruth's Chris.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. In the traffic center, Cormac, what's going on South 15?
Well, Andy, it was a controlled slowdown, and a texter gave us the details that it was because of road maintenance near 5300 South, probably the heat causing some cracks in the bridges there. So it's very dense on southbound I-15 all the way up at almost 600 South, down toward just about 5300 South. You also have some heavy traffic transitioning across from the 201 to I-80 at the Spaghetti Bowl, probably with that same backup. Eastbound I-80 over in Kimball Junction to the US 40 turnoff. That right lane's still pretty full. And I-15 in Utah County, just some light delays left over both directions at Pleasant Grove Boulevard. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast, it'll be mostly sunny today. Highs in the mid-90s, slightly cooler than yesterday, and we're only talking like a couple of degrees. But temperatures only increase from here. We're looking at 100 tomorrow, 104 Saturday, maybe 106 on Sunday. Possibly breaking records. Right now, it is 81 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's day 4 of the 5-day preliminary hearing moving forward for Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk in Utah County last September. I kind of thought, Holly, this could not possibly go 5 days. It looks like it may go 6 days. But nonetheless, it's moving forward. It's seemingly picking up a little bit after the first 2 days that seemed to be at a real snail's pace.
So the family of Charlie Kirk says the entire video at question, which is the video interview of his roommate / romantic partner, should be shown in court. But Robinson's defense is like, no, we don't want any of that.
Yeah. So what happened was after Tyler Robinson was taken into custody, they interviewed his roommate. Police did. They videotaped it, and in the videotape, ostensibly, it appears that he made some sort of confession to his roommate. They want to play that confession, his admissions, whatever he said, that were obviously damning to him. The issue is how much of that tape's going to come in, and there was something like a 2.5-hour debate yesterday just on that issue. And by the way, that issue's been debated several times before we even got to the preliminary hearing.
Yeah. So this morning, much of the video will be shown in court, except for 16 minutes that Judge Tony Graff agreed to have redacted. So we do have Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio reporter, reporting live from outside the courthouse in Provo. Thanks for joining us, Heather.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's probably already hot.
It is. It was like in the 80s already.
So do we know, Heather, what the judge ultimately ruled in terms of what will and will not be played with respect to this particular video?
He just mentioned that not the entire video will be played. There is a portion that they're going to save, and they just wanted to protect some of the jury pool from seeing that entire video until trial. So it has been redacted or edited for this morning, and I guess we'll see what details are included in the actual included portion.
I would have expected that the video, the confession, the statement would be the
I didn't think it was a confession. I thought this was the video of the roommate.
It is. It's a video of the roommate who took. It's Tyler confessed
so it's
to
the roommate saying Tyler confessed to me.
Isn't that what you think it is, Heather?
Yeah. It's the police interview with the roommate, and so what is supposed to be included is what Tyler Robinson said to him.
Okay.
So and we are expected at some point to hopefully see the text message exchange between them. I don't know if that'll happen today or tomorrow, but those are considered some of the key evidence in this case at this point.
So, Heather, I know yesterday was a shorter day. It didn't start until, I think, 1:30 in the afternoon. And I understand like half of the day was taken up arguing over this video. Can you just catch us up on what happened otherwise during yesterday's hearing?
No, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, they spent the entirety of the day on that. Yeah, that was it. They because I mean, there's a lot of people at play here. There's, the defense and the prosecution, but also we heard from the Kirk's family lawyer who were really advocating for transparency in this case and feeling like the public and the family can't really get a full picture of what's going on unless they saw the full video. So they spent a little bit of time advocating for that too. And there's also media lawyers in the courtroom too, also advocating for transparency for the public. So yeah, you're dealing with like 4 sets of lawyers here. So the back and forth was lengthy.
But ultimately, Heather, the judge decided that the tape will be played, but something like 16 minutes will be redacted to protect the potential jury pool. So there must be somewhat damning information or maybe irrelevant information or something. I don't know what the judge decided or if even articulated why those 16 minutes would not be played.
Yeah, I mean, he just said that this is a continuous battle between trying to be transparent and also protect his Robinson's right to a fair jury trial. And so he's continually having to balance that with each piece of evidence that they're considering. And this being one of, like you said, considered damning in this case. So he wanted to be extra sensitive in this matter. I don't know what is going to be said in the video and what isn't going to be said in the video because we don't know which portion has been redacted yet, but that will come out, as we get closer to trial.
So besides the video, what else are you anticipating will come up today?
That is a good question. I don't know the order of events today, but like I said, we are still waiting to see the text message exchange between Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson, in addition to that video. So those are 2 things that I know that have yet to come up. So I know hopefully we'll get more information on that today. I don't know what other evidence they're hoping to present, but we still have today and tomorrow before the judge makes his decision on whether there's probable cause to take this to trial. So we'll see what they come up with.
Heather, as I considered the evidence and how it would unfold, I, in my own mind, thought Twiggs would be the last witness because he has the statement from Tyler Robinson. I don't know what else they need. Is there a chance, maybe you don't know the answer to this, that we could wrap up today with that?
With how slow this is moving and how little evidence has actually been introduced at this point, I would think that there's still more to come. But I mean, you're the legal expert here. I don't know. Who's to say at this point? But yeah, this has been really moving at snail's pace with defense fighting literally every piece of evidence introduced. So we've only had pretty much the surveillance video from the day of the murder, and then the 2. A UVU police officer who was there that day and the lead investigator on the case who have testified. So really not a lot of evidence has been introduced at this point. And I would anticipate they still want to use the next 2 days to introduce a little bit more before the judge makes his decision.
So, Heather, I know that this case has international and, of course, national interest. What's the mood like there outside the courthouse?
Actually, right now, at least, it's a lot more calm than it has been in previous days. I don't know if the just, the first day kind of anticipation has died down a little bit, but yeah, there's definitely less news crews here than there has been. But yeah, the security presence remains ramped up. You can see officers on the roof. We've seen dogs here. We've definitely increased security from all the parties who are going into court, as well as just at the courthouse itself. So there's still a lot of tension, but it's not quite the media circus I saw on day one.
All right. Thanks so much. Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio reporter down at the courthouse. So,
and as expected, court hasn't started
on time. It has not started on time.
It'd be a first if it had.
It's been a long week. I think it could actually wrap up by tomorrow, or maybe not. So I'm going to ask Greg that very question. Coming up next on Inside Sources.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
This is Dylan Gunther of the Utah Mammoth, and I drive a BMW. Performance matters to me, on the ice and on the road. That confidence lets me focus on what matters most, performance. That's why I trust BMW Utah for everything, from service to tires. They've always got my back. Between scoring goals and scoring the perfect ride, it's a tough call, but scoring is what I do. And the win? Driving a BMW from BMW Utah. When I came to Utah, everyone talked about the greatest snow on earth. But during the 2002 Olympics, the world saw something else. This place also has the best ice on earth. Since moving here, I've done my best to own that ice and live up to that standard. It's about preparation, precision, and trusting what's beneath you every single day. That same mindset is why I chose BMW Utah, because great performance doesn't happen by accident. It's built, maintained, and earned. And I'm proud to work with a local dealer that represents Utah at that same elite level. Proud to be a Utahn, proud to support BMW Utah. Drive elevated.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you, like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store.
put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Jane Dawson did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With the money she saved, she got herself a pricey bird feeder with an ultra-high-def camera. Should Jane have just bought a regular bird feeder? Yes. Is it hard for her to admire nature when the camera doubles as the bird's potty? Also, yes. But it's Jane's savings, and if she wants to spend her time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch, we say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
The new Inside Sources.
So, given everything that's happened this week with the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing, are we actually going to finish tomorrow? Is there enough to really go to trial? I want to consult KSL's legal analyst and my co-host, Greg Skordas. So, Greg, is it going to wrap up?
I hope so. I don't know why this case has dragged on the way it has, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for a couple things I'm about to say, but this case has gone in a direction that it should never have gone, and I'm frustrated with the what's happening, and I'll tell you why. This is a homicide that's alleged to have occurred September 10th of 2025.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will be 10 months. We've had 10 months to get our act together and to decide how to put on a preliminary hearing. It's not a trial. It's not a jury. It's a preliminary hearing. It's a very low standard of evidence, very low standard of proof, and it's something that's very simple to put on. I've probably done 100 preliminary hearings and 100 from the defense side. Not that I'm the expert, but I've done these hearings.
Right.
And so we're arguing today and yesterday for 2.5 hours about a videotape of his Tyler Robinson's roommate, who probably had some conversation with him that may have been akin to a confession. We've had 10 months to decide the admissibility of that. And it's been argued for at least the last 3 months since the preliminary hearing has been set. But we took 2.5 hours yesterday to decide what parts of it would come in and what parts couldn't. That should have been done before we ever hit the ground Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame anyone in particular. I blame everyone. The state of Utah could have made this so much more concise. They could have done this preliminary hearing in a day and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
Yeah.
a day and a half. The defense has objected to every single thing to the point where their objections are meaningless now.
Right.
When you say we have a standing objection, what you're saying is we're going to complain about everything that happens in this courtroom. So just keep in mind that we object to everything. Like, come on, that doesn't make sense. If you're going to object, say, here's our objection, here's why, and here's the problem with it. And the judge, great defense lawyer, great prosecutors, but the judge has seemingly lost at least part of the control over this, and he's allowing people to bring motions now, even though we're in day 4 of a 5-day preliminary hearing, to consider things that should have been considered long ago. And yesterday, we have a new group, not necessarily a new group, of people who are chiming in. That is the media. They've been involved from the start. And Erica Kirk's family and their attorneys. And they're saying you should be able to put all this evidence out. And I'm reading this motion that they filed, Erica Kirk's attorney, saying, we think that all the people in the courtroom should be able to see all the evidence. Like, how does he have standing to represent all the people in the courtroom? If he wants to say
That's a good point.
If he wants to say my client, the victims, have the right to see all the evidence, that would make perfect sense. But what he's saying is everybody that's legally in the courtroom should see all the evidence. Like, who made him their lawyer? I don't understand. And he's probably the greatest lawyer in America. I'm not saying that he's not. But that motion makes no sense to me at all. And again, I haven't done this for all that long. But it just seems like looking at this kind
only
of...
43 years.
Only, yeah, 44 years.
44 years.
But who's counting?
Who's counting?
But so I'm thinking, I don't know, I guess I've just become frustrated after day 4. And then we're talking to Heather. She was great. They haven't even started yet today. It's 9:23.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that too. Yeah, they're supposed to start at 9, and they seem to have been late every day. Is there something going on behind the scenes? Like, is this typical? Because I thought court was pretty punctual.
They're arguing motions and evidence and what's coming in.
Before they even start.
Before they even start. And every day it's another, well, let's talk about this and let's talk about that. I mean, the state had an obligation to sit down and say, here are our 10 witnesses. Here's what they'll say. Here's their reports. Here's everything that we know about them. And the defense, here you go. Here, no surprise. Here's who's testifying. Here's what they're going to say. It's not a mystery to the defense or the prosecution. Right. It's for the judge to decide if there's probable cause. So the judge is the only person that's hearing this evidence for the first time, and sort out the issues beforehand in a motion hearing and say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to decide what evidence is admissible and what's not. Easily determined before the preliminary hearing because we had a lot of time. How many motions did we have for this preliminary hearing before we got there?
I don't know.
6 or 8. And some of them were all day. And we had a 2.5-hour hearing yesterday to decide how many minutes of this interview with Lance Twiggs, Tyler Robinson's roommate or lover, whatever he is. And we know that Tyler Robinson sent him an email or a text or something saying, something like, by the time you read this, you're going to hear some really bad things. And I did it because of this and this and this and this. And and I feel bad about it or whatever, just play it. Just put it on.
So let me ask you then, do you think there's any kind of legal reason behind why they were taking so long to make the case? It's just a preliminary hearing.
Because the state can't lose the preliminary. I mean, they absolutely cannot.
Sure.
So they want to make sure they cover all their bases. But you know what an easy solution to so much of this would have been? Subpoena Lance Twiggs, bring him to court and say, dude, did you talk to Tyler? Yeah. What'd he say? It's not even hearsay anymore at that point. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean,
it comes in because now you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, they were saving him for the trial.
Yes. but I mean, we could have, it wouldn't have cost him that much. I know he's out of state. So you put him in a hotel for a night. You fly him out, you put him on the stand, you let the defense cross-examine the heck out of him.
Well, that's what they wanted, and that was a pre-argument before we even got to this.
Wouldn't it have been so much easier to just bring him here and put him on the stand and say, okay, how do you know Tyler? He was my roommate. Did you talk to him? Yes. What did he say? Blah, 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 blah.
I think that's what they're trying to do with the video, right?
I know, but now it's secondhand statement of a secondhand statement. So it's hearsay within hearsay. We interviewed this person, and he told us that this other person told him something. Like at some point, you have so many levels that it's. And I understand hearsay is admissible at a preliminary hearing, as it should be. Otherwise, they can get to be a circus. But the circus is well upon us right now, and this was an easily avoidable ring of the 3-ring circus to just bring that witness in. I'm sorry, I'm not happy with this. Because it's kind of a black eye for Utah, I think. And what bothers me is that this is a great judge. These are great prosecutors. These are great defense attorneys. I know them all. I know I've had cases with every one of these people, and I know them to be very skilled. But they're not gelling together, and they're not working together in a way to make a preliminary hearing be what it's supposed to be: preliminary to trial. Get on the evidence. Put on your probable cause, get out, and go home.
I thought it was interesting that Heather Peterson told us that there actually has been very little evidence, at least from her perspective, that has actually been introduced, and we're on day 4. So what would the process be if the judge were to extend it into next week? Would it just become open-ended, or how would that look?
Well, this is another level of my severe frustration because apparently the judge doesn't have time next week. So if the preliminary
then it would
hearing
be continued.
Correct. What I'm hearing is if the preliminary hearing does not wrap up tomorrow, the judge may schedule a date in 2 or 3 weeks or in August to finish the preliminary hearing, which would be
almost a year,
which would be a travesty. We don't want to do that either. I mean, set aside 5 days, get it done in 5 days, get a choreographed plan from the state as to who they're going to put on. The defense isn't going to put on any witnesses, I don't think. There's no reason for them to. But
yeah, why would they do that?
Kicking and screaming and fighting about every single thing. I mean,
But isn't this their only opportunity? Well, potentially their only opportunity if there ends up being some kind of a plea.
Well, it's their only opportunity to cross-examine the witnesses, so cross-examine them instead of just object to everything they're going to say and every exhibit and just fighting about everything. I'm sorry. I
don't
just
apologize. I like your hot take.
It's just frustrating to me, and this is a case that I could have done the prelim in 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wonder, Greg, if some of it is because there's so much attention on this case that they want to be extra, extra careful that they've dotted every I, but it does seem to be a little bit over the top.
Right. I mean, they've dotted the I's, they've capitalized the I's, they've circled the I's, and they've made the T's into an italics. And I mean, they're okay.
Well, and
let's
it's
get it wrapped
9:30, almost 9:30, and they still haven't started.
We still haven't started court on day 4.
All right.
Because, I don't know. But and it's sad because we've got our A team down there doing the case from all sides, and it's frustrating because it's just, and then you get people that are coming in, the president's son who says, well, it looks like they got a great case. Like, okay,
right.
Who are you to say? Anyway, I'm rambling. I'll stop now. When we come back, I'm done with this preliminary hearing. Prices at the pump are already starting to jump, thanks in part to President Trump saying the talks with Iran are over and the ceasefire agreement is canceled. Next on Inside Sources, could a White House-backed Freedom Fuel network save the day? We'll get a look at what this means and how this would take shape when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour: a Saratoga Springs Treatment Center's license is under review after reports a patient left and hurt themselves on purpose. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The main campus for New Haven Residential Treatment Center is under some strict rules for the next month. The Utah Department of Health and Human Services says it will be doing more inspections, which they have to pay about $400 for each time. The center will also have to retrain their staff and cannot admit new clients. Reports of the patient walking out of the facility and hurting themselves came in last week, but it's not the first time the facility has gotten into trouble this year. The state's licensing and background checks website says it was cited back in March for not watching another teen who was able to just walk out of the facility. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
The U.S. Supreme Court will be considered taking on a Utah petition. This case would deal with a state's rights to sentence a juvenile to life in prison without parole. The case deals with Morris Thomas Mullins, a man who pled guilty in 2001 to rape and murder of a Utah woman in her 70s and another older woman in Arizona before his 18th birthday. His attorneys argue his sentence of life without parole was not constitutional. The Utah Supreme Court ruled in his favor. However, the Attorney General's office says this has been an issue in enough parts of the country. It's time for the U.S. Supreme Court to address it. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 123 points to 52,471. It appears the preliminary hearing has started for Tyler Robinson. Want to make sure we add that. Are we taking that live? I'm asking on the air because I don't know. Okay, let's go to that right now. Okay, well, let's take a break then really quick. We got coming up, we'll check your weather, which is going to be possibly record-breaking temperatures coming up this weekend. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. And I was thinking the other day, Monty, that every water softener I've ever seen has a giant tank that holds bags and bags of water softener salt. Well, except one, the one I have in my home. And I picture this, my Connecticut has the little salt tank about the size of a paper shredder or a small trash can.
Well, Doug, that's because the Connecticut water softeners use so much less salt, an average of 70% less than other water softeners, so you don't need a tank that holds 6 or 8 bags of salt.
I love the fact that it's so easy to fill because I don't have to lift those bags up so high, and it seems like those bags of salt, well, they're getting heavier every year.
Yes, it does. When you're using 1 bag of salt for every 3 a regular water softener uses, there's no need for a large salt tank.
Tired of lifting those heavy salt bags to fill your giant water softener salt tank? Go to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Hey, so we're not even halfway through the summer, and if you want to look great in your summer clothes, you don't need to wait until next Monday. You don't need to wait until next month. You don't need to wait until next summer. What you need is a plan, and if you wait, nothing changes. If you start now, everything can. You can look good this summer. In fact, you can look good in as few as 4 weeks. I did. I got down to, I lost 30 pounds in 7 weeks. I lost 18 pounds in 4 weeks. You can do the same thing. I did it with SOTA Diet and Nutrition. That's SOTADietandNutrition.com, SOTA, or 1-866-800-SOTA. It worked for me, and it'll work for you. And I'll tell you what, it's just based on diet. They hook you up with a nutritionist. You can fashion your own diet. You don't need to buy your food through them. You can buy it all at a grocery store, and you can eat and keep yourself full and not starve yourself, and it works. It works. I'm serious. SOTA Diet Nutrition. Say it with me. SOTA, state of the art.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. Let's go back to the traffic center. Check in with Cormac Bone.
Well, there was a crash eastbound I-80 right after I-15 in South Salt Lake just before State Street. They've cleared that off the road, but it left some residual delays back on northbound I-15 around 3300 South. Then we have some light delays southbound I-15 at 7200 South. And down in Utah County, we do have a crash on northbound I-15 just after 8000 South, right before you get into Spanish Fork. They're out of traffic and in the right shoulder, not causing any slowdowns. Homeowners, Gillette Services is putting $1,000 in your pocket with a rebate on new installations, and you pay nothing until 2027. Call 385-GET-HEAT for your free estimate. Comfort now, pay later. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, mostly sunny today, high of about 95 degrees. Temperatures will only increase, though. This weekend, triple digits, possibly record-breaking, could be a high of 106 on Sunday. Right now, it's 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So the judge has taken the bench in the state of Utah versus Tyler Robinson. There was a motion filed late in the day yesterday from the victim's family, that is Charlie Kirk's family, that is Erica Kirk and his parents. Their attorneys filed a motion that the court allow a certain evidence to be shown to everyone in the courtroom, including the victim's family, and the judge is addressing that right now. Let's go to the court live.
Not available after tonight. So I could, of course, as Your Honor knows, say much more. But the court has all the briefing, and I think we should move forward.
Thank you. And as it relates to transparency and publication, does the news media wish to be heard on this issue?
Only briefly, Your Honor. I've also reviewed the submission from yesterday. The court has always set this three-step process. And I think taking each of those stages, admissibility, publication to the courtroom, and coverage by the in-court cameras are three separate inquiries. Of course, the media believes the media will be the party who stands here at this lectern and says, we believe we should see as much as possible. We're maximalist in that way, while recognizing the importance of protecting all the rights, including fair trial rights. But the idea of publishing something, of keeping something off of the cameras at the rear of the courtroom, but publishing it to those who are present here, also is a meaningful step towards transparency. And to the extent that the court is not comfortable with placing something on the video feed, the media does believe that allowing the media representatives who are here and the members of the public who are here to view that, even if those watching on the live stream cannot, is a meaningful victory for transparency, and we of course support that.
Thank you. All right.
The briefing that was submitted last night.
All right, so I want to address the motion filed by the attorney for the victim representative, and then we'll transition to that. I'm just trying to do it incrementally so we can get it all addressed. So in regards to that, and I appreciate the position of the parties, it is important for me to hear all sides. Article 1, Section 28 of the Utah Constitution recognizes important rights afforded to victims and victims' representatives, including the right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, and the right to be present and heard at critical stages of the proceedings. The court acknowledges the concerns raised in the motion regarding transparency and the ability to meaningfully observe the evidence presented during this hearing. At the same time, the court has an independent obligation to manage these proceedings in a manner that safeguards the rights of all parties. That includes honoring the rights of victims and victims' representatives while preserving the defendant's constitutional rights, including the right to a fair and impartial process. The court has considered the request that exhibits be displayed in real time to the courtroom. After careful consideration, the court determines that not all exhibits will be visually displayed to the gallery, and notes that it will use a tiered method as described. First, whether it will be admitted to the court for consideration as it relates to probable cause. Second, whether it will be displayed only to the gallery. And third, if it will be published through the camera to the public at large. This ruling is not intended to diminish the significance of the victim's representative rights or concerns. Rather, it reflects the court's responsibility to regulate the presentation of evidence in a manner consistent with the integrity of the proceedings and the fair trial rights implicated in this manner. The manner in which evidence is displayed remains in the court's discretion. That discretion must be exercised in a manner that is appropriate and appropriately balances Mr. Robinson's constitutional rights, Ms. Kirk's rights as a victim representative, and the court's obligation to conduct the proceedings that are fair, orderly, and appropriately transparent. Transparency is an important principle, but it must be maintained in a manner consistent with the constitutional rights and protections afforded to all parties. The court does not make a blanket ruling as it relates to any exhibit, and as previously stated, each exhibit will be afforded its own due in weighing whether it shall be published to the courtroom or beyond or not. And that concludes the court's ruling on that motion. All right, counsel, the last matter as it relates to the briefing, I'll hear that, and there is a slight edit to, and I'm not sure when the state wishes to publish State's Exhibit 16. So turning to the state, do you wish to be heard about the motions filed last night?
Okay, so what the judge is doing is ruling on the motion that was filed last night by the victim's family's attorney, that is Charlie Kirk's widow and parents, that there be some transparency. And the media joined this, Holly, because they want these exhibits to be published as well. The judge sort of broke it down three ways. He said, okay, the state's going to offer evidence. A, the court is going to be able to see the evidence. That, of course, the court needs to make the determination. And B, there's a second tier, and that is the people who are in the courtroom, the victims, the people who are lawfully present, they'll be able to see some evidence, even more of the evidence. And then third, what will the public, those of us that are watching it on TV, be able to see? And we'll be the most restricted in that. So he's going to do it on a piece-by-piece basis. As evidence comes in, he's going to break it down and say, okay, this is going to be tier 1. I'm just going to be the only person to look at this. Or this is more important that the victims and the people in the courtroom be able to see it. So he kind of said, I'll let you know what I decide to do. But he's trying to be careful because overall, his concern is, well, he has a number of concerns, but to the accused, Tyler Robinson has a right to a fair trial with a fair jury who are not unduly tainted by the evidence. So
before we even get to trial.
Right, before we even get to trial. On the other hand, the public has a right to know what's going on. This is America. We have the First Amendment, and we do have open courtrooms, and we've always had that. It's a real balancing thing, and it's a tough thing, especially when you have a case like this, which is highly unusual, has media attention like we've never seen before in this state. I mean, rarely have we seen a case like this. Maybe go back to Elizabeth Smart or something like that. We just don't have cases like this that get this amount of national attention, and so people want to know, and people have a right to know, and so there's a real balancing act here. But the court's trying to dance through that a little bit as we go along. It's really made the proceedings take a lot longer, and like I said, I really feel like these are the motions that should have been addressed before we got here today to day 4 of the preliminary hearing.
Well, thank you for breaking it down for us. I appreciate your expertise. When we come back after this break, we're going to talk about budgeting, but it usually gets easier as you get more experience as you're growing up, right? Getting older. But for younger adults, many of whom are budgeting for the first time, it can be a lot to take in. After the break, we're going to talk about a trend of loud budgeting and how it's helping Gen Z save money. But we do want to hear from you. How have you taught your own kids to budget? Text us your thoughts at 57500. We'll share those when we come back.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan. Head up north where the air is clear for a refreshingly unexpected getaway. Start your day by singing Yodelay-hoo at the top of your lungs on a canyon trail with views that go on for miles. Here's a secret. The National Forest is only 10 minutes from your hotel. What? I know. Next, rent horses or a side-by-side at Beaver Creek Lodge up Logan Canyon to spy colorful wildflowers and birds and stunningly beautiful scenery. After your day of adventure, wander downtown to check out our local shops selling everything from antiques to giant jigsaw puzzles to vintage clothing and goat's milk soap. Watch them hand-dip chocolates at Bluebird Candy, eat sourdough pizza, or drop into the family-friendly Prodigy Brew Pub where their deep-fried pickle spears are divine. I didn't even mention live theater performance like the Lyrics Laugh Out Loud Forever Plaid, or free concerts every weekday at noon in the Tabernacle, or community festivals, or... See what I'm saying? We are refreshingly Logan. Visit explorelogan.com, explorelogan.com.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Picture this. You pull into your driveway, and for the first time in a long time, you love what you see. Beautiful new siding, bright energy-efficient windows, gutters that protect your home year-round, and a deck that makes the backyard feel brand new. Not someday, not after one more year. With RGS Exteriors, the home you've been wanting can start today.
Hi, Tim Brown here, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now.
Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
When it's hot like this, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 32,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance, repair, to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You know, I used to think all money managers were the same until I spoke with Fisher Investments.
Really? How different are they?
Fisher's investment counselors are dedicated to service, not sales, keeping clients up to date on their portfolio.
Well, they probably just invest in a bunch of mutual funds like I do.
Nope. They build a tailored portfolio based on their clients' personal goals, helping them stay on track for a comfortable retirement.
Well, they must make commissions selling products.
Actually, Fisher doesn't sell any commission-based products. They're a fiduciary, and they believe that's a conflict.
Then they have some kind of complex fee structure.
Nope. Fisher has a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of their client's portfolio. So they do better when their clients do better.
It sounds like Fisher really is different.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Fisher Investments. Clearly different wealth management. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
And expanded Inside Sources.
There's a new budgeting trend that's supposedly helping Gen Z learn to save money. So, Greg, it's called loud budgeting. Before I tell you what it is, what do you think it is?
I think it's maybe budgeting that you can talk about, that's part of your vocabulary, part of your conversation. I don't know.
Yeah, it really is. And these kids are doing is talking out loud to their friends about what they can and can't afford. So that was not what I thought when I originally heard loud budgeting, right?
Yeah. Out loud, I
guess. But they're basically talking. They're talking to their friends about what they can and can't afford, right? So it's not going with the social pressure of, hey, we just went out to dinner, and by the way, I don't really know, I'm going to order a water, right? So we do have with us. Oh, you've got. Yeah.
So as we have this conversation, before you introduce our guests, we want from the parents who might be listening, both young and old, how are you teaching your kids to budget appropriately? While we talk to our next guest, text us your thoughts at 57500. Okay.
So we have with us Shane Stewart. He's a DMBA certified financial planner. And thanks for joining us again this morning, Shane.
Sure, glad to.
So have you ever heard of loud budgeting for Gen Z?
You know, I hadn't heard the term loud budgeting until recently, and I thought it might have meant getting a bullhorn, stand out on the street outside the studio there, and just let everybody know what your budget is. But it actually makes some sense to me. I'm actually pleased to hear that Gen Z is doing this, because one of the key issues and even breakdowns in a financial situation is not talking about it.
Yeah.
Keeping it secret, especially when you're involved with other people spending money. Yeah.
My first thought was that it was self-talk, that you're talking to yourself, and it really is that they're talking to their friends, and it's a really high percentage. This new study from, Bank of America, one of the things that they found is that something like 70% they want to talk to their friends about it. And part of it is accountability. So I wanted to ask you, maybe, are there ways of keeping ourselves accountable for our spending that maybe work better than other ways?
Absolutely. Setting boundaries, especially when it comes to things that you think would get away from you. I've had clients who say, I don't budget much except for when I go to a home improvement center, I have a budget. Because if I don't have a budget, I will buy everything and work in my yard for the rest of my life. Or, whatever it is that you think is trouble for you, it helps to set some boundaries and maybe even definitely talk to someone else about it. And that's what Gen Z is doing, is they're saying, okay. And I assume many of these folks are maybe not married yet or have partners. If they are, they should be talking to them, especially if they have joint finances. But even if they don't, just getting it out there and telling other people your boundaries is kind of like having a workout buddy. Mm-hmm. You're accountable, right? You're held accountable, and they can help hold you accountable.
Shane, you indicated at the outset that you were pleased that there were some discussions. What would you counsel, or what would you think these conversations should look like? What should they be like?
Yeah, I think it should be simply letting friends or family or whomever you're being allowed to know what your boundaries are, what your budget is like. I don't know if you, I'm from a generation where we just kept it all quiet to ourselves, right? And so I'm surprised a little bit that they're willing to share things that usually people aren't willing to share. So to your point, I think, or to your question, I think that we share things that are pertinent, meaning, all right, I'm a little low on money this month, but I do want to go out to dinner with you. Could we pick somewhere cheaper? That kind of thing. I think they need to be talking about almost on a monthly basis. Where are you right now financially? And let's go have some fun, but let's do it within my budget.
Yeah, I think that's important. We did ask for texters, and we'll still take them, of course, 57500. But we do have a texter who says that they've used the Dave Ramsey budgeting system and taught it to their kids, and that none of them have any debt and that they're investing. Right. So that's a start. We also had somebody who weighed in on Facebook who said basically, a bunch of these kids are still living at home. So it's a little easier to live within a budget if you don't have any housing expenses. So that's fair. Right.
Yeah.
But are parents still in that situation? Like, what can they do maybe when they have young adults living at home to really have these budgeting conversations for the move out when it does happen?
Yeah, I think that needs to happen. I think they need to have a long-term, a longitudinal discussion about how long is this going to last generally, and really, frankly, we could learn from Gen Z to talk about it.
Yeah,
you take the parents' generation is probably trained not to talk too much about it. We could take a cue from them and really open up and talk about it more. And it sounds like that one that your texter that's had some success, they obviously talked about it. They obviously pointed them to resources and had a conversation.
Shane, Gen Z is facing a world where housing prices are very, very high. Income has not kept up with that. Maybe living with mom and dad is more palatable than it's been in the past. But what should they know about? I mean, you can't live with mom and dad forever. And what should they know about?
Say mom and dad.
Right.
We're both moms and dads. So,
right.
I mean, but what do they need to know? What would you counsel our Gen Zers right now about, hey, where do you think you want to be in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, there's a common bias mentally that we have, that everyone has, that whatever's happening now seems permanent. Mm-hmm. And that's really not true when it comes to, anything, but especially financial issues. And I help my Gen Zers, my kids, realize, wait, this is a temporary thing where housing is way more expensive than what your income is keeping up with. But I remember buying a home, not when I was first married, not when I was new, but later in life. And I waited till that time. So I think the discussion that you have is make sure you don't fall into that trap that everything's happening now is permanent. These things are cyclical. So knowing that, get ready, do everything that you can now to put away a few pennies, dimes, and dollars so that when the environment changes, you have some money to put down on a home. You're getting ready for that change to happen, because it will happen. These financial things are cyclical, but you can't just sit in mom and dad's basement and do nothing. You have to sit in mom and dad's basement and take all the money you're making and put it away. Get ready for that change.
All right. Thanks so much, Shane Stewart, DBA Certified Financial Planner, on this loud budgeting trend, which, look, I want to...
Had some good advice.
I want to ask you if you... how did you teach your kids to budget, or did you?
That's a good question. I mean, we tried to make it as comfortable for them as possible, but also with the idea that we gave our kids the impression that once you're through with college, you're going to get out there.
Yeah.
So start thinking about where you want to be and where you want to land, and make it as comfortable for them, that landing, as possible by providing college funding, but then see you later, goodbye.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the message we gave our kids, and I think that they took that to heart because they all graduated from college debt-free, but then you're on your own. And, of course, you can help them. You can co-sign for a car loan. You can help them come up with a down payment on a house and that type of thing. But then I also taught them, if I'm going to help you with the down payment on a house, you're going to sign a note and you're going to pay it back.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay it back with interest. And I got them to understand how finances work, even if it's the bank of dad that you're dealing with.
Yeah, right. So it was interesting to me that Shane said that we're of a generation where we didn't really talk about money. I think that's totally true. My parents did tell me they didn't help me with college, and we haven't really helped our kids either, except to say, rah, rah, let's go. But
which is good, too.
Yeah. But one of the things that they were clear on is when you get married, there's no more help, right? And that was mostly true. Every once in a while, they bought us a kitchen table because we were eating off of moving boxes when we were first married. But it's an interesting conversation, I think, and it's one where we're trying to help our kids, and so we weren't the best at teaching them budgeting. And so what we have done is I have asked my son, who's really good at budgeting, to create a series of classes. And so we're doing that right now as a whole family, saying, okay, here are the basics. Like, I know the basics, but not all my kids do, believe it or not.
Yeah, and you can't really just give them the school of hard knocks and say, oh, well, you're getting kicked out of your apartment tomorrow. Good luck. I mean, you've got to give them a safety net. You just can't let them know that it's always there.
Right. And what's the difference between safety and enabling? I have not figured that out yet.
That's a tough one. Oh, you're my model as a good parent. You've had more experience than anybody I know. In the next hour, we're going to talk about the pushback Utah voters gave our legislature as it relates to the constitutional amendments and whether or not the legislature is going to press pause on whether or not we should change ballot initiatives when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Temperatures this weekend are predicted to be in the triple digits, and search and rescue teams say they are worried people will be heading to the mountains to escape the heat but won't be prepared.
Can be extreme, and you can have heat exhaustion very fast.
Salt Lake County Sheriff Rosie Rivera says they have already had up to 4 calls per day for hikers dealing with heat exhaustion. She says always head out with extra water, a charged cell phone, and avoid going alone. Harmful algal blooms have been found in Manaway Reservoir. The Bear River Health Department says there are dangerous levels of toxins in the water. Utahns are advised to avoid the water for the time being. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Gas prices jumped this morning as the U.S. and Iran both launched new military strikes.
The national average jumping 6 cents overnight to $3.81 a gallon this morning, according to Gas Buddy. And the key here to what happens next to that price for Americans is what happens in the Strait of Hormuz. And in the last 24 hours, Kepler tells ABC News it has seen 25 ships cross. Now, that is lower than what we've seen in previous days.
ABC's Rebecca Jarvis reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 156 points to 52,504. Oil down $1.50 to $72 a barrel. Coming up, we got one more day before the triple-digit heat gets us. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't face the IRS alone.
I was self-employed and I got behind on my taxes. And then 1 year became 2 years and 3 years and $116,535.47 to be exact. It just became overwhelming. Finally, I went to another tax company and they were more interested in how good they were than helping me. I heard about Jordan and talking to the other people who'd done and been in the same situations that I was in, and their tax problems seemed just like mine. And so I went to Jordan and it was amazing. They were able to negotiate it down to $5,200, and life became wonderful to me.
Don't face the IRS alone. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com to schedule your free consultation. That's endtaxworry.com.
I will be forever grateful.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future.
Some businesses sell products. Others become part of a community's legacy. Since 1948, Duke's Jewelers has been a trusted part of Springville and Utah families' most meaningful moments. That's 80 years of meaningful craftsmanship, founded by J. Melvin Duke. The tradition continues today under fourth-generation owner Kimberly Narupe, who quite literally grew up in the family shop. She has a fresh perspective and deep respect for tradition. Guided by values of care, honesty, and exceptional craftsmanship, Duke's Jewelers creates pieces designed to last a lifetime because every design begins with a story. Since Duke's is a family-owned store with lower overhead, they can offer better diamonds and craftsmanship at a better price. Learn more about this Utah Cornerstone at dukesjewelers.com.
Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Let's check back in with Cormac Bone.
Roadways in the Salt Lake Valley really calming down. It looks like even the crash that we do have near 1700 South is starting to clear off the road. They're out of traffic and in the right shoulder, so no delays on I-15 through Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. But in Weber County, we are seeing some I-15 slowdowns northbound. Looks like it's due to a crash just before 2700 North, and then also a little slow northbound I-15 near Willard Bay. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast, we should hit 95 today in Salt Lake City, but then comes the extra heat. 100 tomorrow, 104 on Saturday, and 106 on Sunday, which would set a daily record, the all-time record high for Salt Lake City ever, 107 degrees. Right now it's 82 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, after suffering a slew of defeats over redistricting and proposed constitutional amendments on ballot initiatives, it seems like state legislative leaders are saying they're going to push pause on their previous proposals to restrict ballot initiatives. Is this a surprise to you?
A little bit of a surprise, but also I would say that legislators can read the political winds. So one of the things, of course, that we're talking about is they have been talking since January, these legislators, that they want to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot that would give them the power to overturn citizen initiatives. So remember, like during our coverage of the legislative session, you and I talked about this. Who is going to vote to give away their power to the Utah legislature, right? That was one of the things we were talking about.
Yeah, it's hard to have a citizen vote on whether or not citizens should have ballot initiatives.
Right.
What are they going to say? No, take our rights away.
Right. And so the way you would have to phrase it would be maybe a less, I don't know, a little less straightforward, but they got in trouble with that previously. But then we had this primary season, and I think there were some people who were like, look, this is not going to go well for us if we try to push this right now. That's my guess.
Yeah, you're right. It may be a timing issue. And of course, January is a long way off when the legislative session starts to get ready to ramp up. They may change their mind by then. But I don't think there's much of an appetite among the citizenry in Utah looking back on what happened with these ballot initiatives and to say, boy, we made some mistakes, because we really didn't. And the legislature did a job, not necessarily an effective job, of saying we're going to be California and the whole process is going to be ballot initiatives, because we're talking about really 3. And if you think about it, we're really talking about 1. And that was the ballot initiative to create the redistricting
That's
commission.
Right. Proposition 4 back in the day.
Yeah, and that was 2018. We passed 3 ballot initiatives that were a little bit controversial: legalized cannabis, increased Medicaid, and of course the redistricting. And the legislature dealt with those, and 2 of the 3 they sort of messed with a little bit, and then the third one dealing with gerrymandering. Boy, we're back to square one.
Well, and that changed the Constitution through citizen voices. I think one of the things that's interesting too. So we saw with the primary the intense pushback on a variety of things, but data center was big. We're going to talk about that later in our show. But also what we saw is President Stuart Adams lost his seat. And part of it is that. Part of it is feeling like voters didn't feel heard from him. But if you remember the beginning of last legislative session, he said that not overturning Proposition 4 would destroy Utah. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, here we are.
He said that is the number one issue that he cared about the very most, is making sure that they could overturn Prop 4. And so during the legislative session and into the spring, there was an effort to get enough signatures on the ballot to repeal it through members of the Republican Party. That didn't go. That was not successful in getting on the ballot.
And there had to be some writing on the wall for them as well, to say, well, the citizens are not squarely behind this as we thought they might have been.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's interesting to me that they said it is interesting. It's not incredibly surprising, but they said, look, there's already ongoing litigation. We're just going to let that play out.
On the other hand, something's going to happen about the whole redistricting consideration, and this is a different issue. But I don't think there's any way that 2 years from now we will have the same congressional boundaries. Now, I mean, again, that's a different issue, and the legislature is trying to put the brakes on ballot initiatives and citizens coming to the fore and doing that. But they're going to do something themselves over redistricting, I think.
I don't know if it will happen by 2028, although I wouldn't be. I don't know if it's going to happen by 2028, although I wouldn't be incredibly surprised. But definitely, as we hit the next redistricting cycle, which will not be, that'll be happen in 2030. So it won't be until the 2031 cycle that we'll see redistricting on the normal schedule.
Yeah, but we're not following a normal schedule, really.
That's for sure.
We haven't this time as well.
That's for sure. There's another state, I think it's Louisiana, but I could be wrong, that is convening a special session to talk about redistricting. Not for 2026 because it's too close, but for 2028.
Yeah, and the Utah legislature may propose a hybrid map that can get by the judicial scrutiny that the last one didn't, and maybe not be quite as.
But what would I'm just asking you, what would the reasoning be? Like, what's the argument to say, look, we had this map, and now we have a person in place, and we have to redo the map? What's the reasoning?
Yeah, the reasoning is that we're the legislature, and you know what I mean? I mean, that's all it's been so far anyway. I mean, either they don't think that the citizens did the right thing, they don't think that it plays well, and they think that they're voted into office. And I understand their argument. We've interviewed a number of them. Hey, citizens, vote for us. If you don't like what we're doing, vote us out. Don't just create your own laws. And it did happen. It did happen with at least a couple of high-profile people.
It's just interesting to me, Greg, that I'm trying to look at this from a political perspective. I understand what you're saying. Your argument to me sounds like a political argument, like the legislature has the right to redraw the maps. Although Prop 4 says otherwise. But I just question how they could go have a legislative session where they say we're going to focus on redrawing maps this year because we really don't like the map that came out of the courts. I mean, they can say that. I just don't know how that's going to fly.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it would make sense to create another commission and go back and say let's have it, because if the commission drew up the maps, it'd be hard for a judge to set them aside. I mean, it was the legislature overriding the commission. Maybe the whole idea of the redistricting commission makes no more sense, but that's really what the ballot initiative was about. Not about redistricting, but creating the commission.
Well,
to redistrict.
Yes, but it also set guidelines. That was the part that resulted in the lawsuit that resulted in the map that we have now, right? Is because it also said the commission can draw the maps, this independent redistricting commission, and propose them to the legislature, but it also said the legislature doesn't have to accept these maps. However, if they draw maps themselves, they have to take the following things into account. And that's where the judge found that they hadn't taken the following things into account.
And bottom line is we're talking about whether or not the legislature would consider proposing a constitutional amendment to limit ballot initiatives, which would require I think you've got to get at least 2/3 of both bodies, and maybe then it goes to the
constitutional amendment to put on the ballot. Yeah, that's right.
And then the citizens get to vote.
Look, and here's a note as we end this segment. The public polling on this issue shows that fewer than 1 in 10 voters want the legislature to draw the maps on their own, actually. And this is done by Sutherland Institute. So, yes, the members of the public feel like the legislature has the ability to draw maps, but they don't think they should do it without input.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next on Inside Sources, I want to talk about this interesting court case with you, a court case from Utah that might make its way to the U.S. Supreme Court dealing with life sentences for minors. I'm going to talk to you, our in-house legal expert, after the break.
What if I were to tell you that 4 weeks from today, that would be the second week of August, you can feel better, you can look better, you can fit your clothes better, and you can still get into those summer clothes that you've been waiting to get into? Well, you can if you contact SOTA Diet Nutrition. That is SOTADietNutrition.com and say, give me some help, because that's what I did. I wasn't able to lose the weight myself. I wasn't able to get down to the weight I wanted to be at because I just didn't have the discipline, I guess. And I called SOTA Diet Nutrition because some folks here at KSL had great success with that. And I said, sign me up. And what was nice about it is I had a coach, a nutritionist, and she said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you on this diet plan, and we're going to tell you what to eat, and you're not going to starve yourself. You're going to eat as much as you want. We're going to have you go to your own grocery store, buy your food at your own cost, but we're going to dictate a little bit about what your diet is, and it worked for me. And it's worked for me so much so that I'm now 4 months into it, and I've lost well over what I wanted to do. That was SOTA Diet Nutrition, SOTA, SOTA, dietnutrition.com. Say it with me, state of the art.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan. Head up north where the air is clear for a refreshingly unexpected getaway. Start your day by singing Yodelay-hee-hoo at the top of your lungs on a canyon trail with views that go on for miles. Here's a secret. The National Forest is only 10 minutes from your hotel. What? I know! Next, rent horses or a side-by-side at Beaver Creek Lodge up Logan Canyon to spy colorful wildflowers and birds and stunningly beautiful scenery. After your day of adventure, wander downtown to check out our local shops selling everything from antiques to giant jigsaw puzzles to vintage clothing and goat's milk soap. Watch them hand-dip chocolates at Bluebird Candy, eat sourdough pizza, or drop into the family-friendly Prodigy Brew Pub where their deep-fried pickle spears are divine. I didn't even mention live theater performance like the Lyrics Laugh Out Loud Forever Plaid, or free concerts every weekday at noon in the Tabernacle, or community festivals, or... See what I'm saying? We are refreshingly Logan. Visit explorelogan.com, explorelogan.com.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the 4 walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone, get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681. Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
The new Inside Sources.
So the U.S. Supreme Court is going to at least review and possibly take up a court case from here in Utah. The topic of the case is whether or not it's legal for the court to sentence a minor to life in prison without parole.
So let me just tell you the law a little bit to reset it. In Utah, we allow, and many states follow the same rule, that a person who is 16 or 17 who commits any of a series of very serious crimes can be tried as an adult.
Right.
That includes murder, and it includes aggravated murder. So a 16 or 17-year-old, if they commit an aggravated murder, a crime that would be a death penalty crime as an adult, will be tried as an adult if the state chooses to. In fact, it's fairly automatic. The Supreme Court of the United States, has always said, that's fine. That's all well and good, but you can't execute him. He can suffer all of the same, he or she can suffer all of the same consequences as an adult, except for the execution. So somebody who commits a heinous murder at 17 years and 11 months cannot, under the United States Supreme Court precedent, be executed. Now, that's been the law for some time. Some states, including Utah, have enacted this sort of hybrid punishment, which is life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Supreme Court has never weighed in on whether or not a minor can suffer that consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So they've always said, you can do the life in prison and you can have parole later on. But Utah has a case where this exact issue came up, and that's surprising to me that no other state's done this before. But a young man committed a crime. It was a very violent crime. It involved a sex crime of an elderly woman who was killed, and he was convicted, and the judge ordered him to serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. But what happened in this case that made it a little more interesting is that the judge also said something to the effect that, there's some hope for you. You're going to go to prison, but let's hope that you can learn something. Mm-hmm. And the Supreme Court of Utah said, Well, that's the judge basically saying, hey, you're able to be rehabilitated, so maybe life in prison without the possibility of parole made no sense in that case.
So a question for you then is, what are his attorneys arguing? Like, why shouldn't he be? Like you said, maybe he's rehabilitated, but we don't really allow that option for adults, and he was 17 when this crime was committed. So why do we want to send this to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Because the Utah Supreme Court weighed in on it. And what they did was they said to the judge, you're wrong. You cannot give this kid life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Supreme Court of Utah, and it was a 3-2 decision. It was a close call. And they said, you know what, we're going to send it back to the judge. It was a judge in Richfield, which is, I think, the 5th
for resentencing,
district.
right?
To resentence and say, okay, you're going to give him life in prison, but not life without parole. And so the Attorney General's office has said, wait a minute, that's not consistent with the United States Supreme Court precedents. We've never said you can't give a minor life without. We've only said you can't give a minor the death penalty. So the Attorney Generals in Utah have said, let's go to the United States Supreme Court and let them decide. Now, as you said at the very beginning, Holly, the United States Supreme Court is considering this. They're not necessarily taking it,
right?
But they can if they choose to decide this. And of course, the issue would be whether or not it violates the Eighth Amendment's right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment.
So you just said that a minor can be sentenced to life in prison, but they can't be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. How is life in prison not, what did you say, cruel and unusual punishment?
Yeah. Well, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so this is
but
just...
after how many years?
Well, it's up to the Board of Pardons.
Oh,
but the difference you have, and I think you understand this as well as anybody, is if you're sentencing a 17-year-old to life in prison without the possibility of parole, that could be a 70, 80-year sentence.
Yeah.
You sentence a 50-year-old to life in prison without the possibility of parole, that's a 30 or 40-year sentence.
Right.
And so what you're saying is, boy, you did something when you were 17, and that should...
It was really bad.
It was so bad that it's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. Maybe that's the case. The Utah Supreme Court has just said, wait a minute, we don't think that every case involving a minor who qualifies for life without should be life without. And so they've said, no, we're not going to... And it's sort of limited to this case, too, because the judge made the unfortunate or maybe fortunate point of saying, hey, young man, I think you've got some potential. Let's see what works out for you.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, once you say that, you're basically saying, what does life without do at that point?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's a tough call to say that a 17-year-old, no matter what they did, and I know I'm going to get some criticism for this, should be forced to spend the rest of their life in prison without the possibility of parole, because that is a very, very, very long time. And it's a little bit different than somebody my age, getting life in prison than life without, because you just serve so much more time. I think that there's a chance to rehabilitate anyone, and I think that that the Board of Pardons, again, I'm going to get in trouble, should at least be able to review cases, even if it's 40 years from now, even if it's 50 years from now, and say, okay, young man, you were 17 when you committed this crime, you're 60 now. What have you learned? Well, I've learned that that was the dumbest thing I could have ever done in my life.
Right.
I've got myself a college degree now. I've stayed out of trouble. Okay, let's see how you can do. Let's give you a
40
try.
years
Right.
later.
Yes.
Look, I want to ask you about the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, because I know that they get a lot of cases. In fact, it's somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 requests for them to take up certain cases, and they typically only do about 80. So it seems like the chances of the U.S. Supreme Court actually weighing in aren't that high.
1 in 100. If you look at 80 out of 8,000.
So but do you think there's something maybe more compelling about this that would make it rise to that level of maybe we will take it on?
I would say this one does have something compelling because we don't know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
There's other states that do this.
It's an issue that's going to come up again and again as more states have decided, hey, we've been too lax with our young people. Let's bring them into the adult system. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means they can go to prison. Well, does that mean for the rest of their lives? Well, yeah, because that's what adults suffer. Well, wait a minute. We don't let a young person get the death penalty. Is life without the possibility of parole that much better, or should it be treated very similarly? And so I think, I wouldn't say it's a 1 in 100 chance that this will go to the United States Supreme Court. I think it's more like a 1 in 10 chance, but still unlikely. But it would be interesting for this case to at least get to the court someday, this case or some version of this case.
So let me ask you this. I'm looking at a KSL.com article that says that the high court received arguments from both sides, and they set the case for a conference towards the end of September where the justices will consider their petition. Will you break that down for me?
Yeah. So what happened was the Utah Attorney General's office filed what you correctly called a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States saying, hey, will you consider this case? And the Supreme Court said, well, tell us about it. So that means they're more than just remotely interested.
Okay.
So they've said to the parties, come in, do your 5-minute presentation. We're not going to do briefs and not formal oral arguments, and tell us what the issue is. And
so would this be like a preliminary hearing?
I hope not.
I mean,
but it was a preliminary argument with the Supreme Court to say, tell us why we should hear this case.
Right.
It's not every day that they do that.
Right.
But in this case they did, which tells me that they're more than just moderately interested in it. Then when they get together in September and decide their 80 cases, this case will be in their final 200 or final 300. It won't be in their final 8,000 anymore because they've already vetted some cases that they don't want.
They said there's going to be a conference. Right, which means both sides are going to come in and do their 5-minute presentation.
I think it's the Supreme Court conferencing. I think it's the court having their conference.
So they have arguments from both sides, but these are written arguments. These aren't oral arguments?
It may have been a presentation. We don't know. And they just said that they had a presentation.
Okay.
It may have been in writing. It may have been in person. Chances are it was something akin to a brief. But the Supreme Court was saying more than just file your writ. They're saying, hey, This
is interesting.
This is interesting.
Okay.
Tell us why we should hear this one.
Well, I do think that's interesting, and I think maybe this is one they could weigh in on.
I'm one that thinks that there's hope for just about everyone, and especially for something that you did when you were 16 or 17. Maybe 50, 60 years from now, you ought to be able to at least, have something come of it, depending on how well you do. It also gives people incentive to do the right thing when they're in prison, instead of thinking, what does it matter? I'm here for life anyway. I'm just going to raise hell.
Right.
When we come back, we're going to leave law and politics behind a bit and talk more about the data centers around the country. Okay, maybe that's still kind of political.
It's pretty political. Come on.
But anyway, when we get more on KSL investigation going into the growing size of data centers, that's coming up next on Inside Sources.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. The preliminary hearing has resumed for Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk. Today, parts of an interview with Robinson's roommate are being played. Also this morning, Judge Tony Graff denied a request from Erica Kirk's lawyer seeking to have all evidence in the preliminary hearing presented in open court. Utahns near the border of Wyoming may have felt a little shake this morning. The U.S. Geological Survey says a 3.1 magnitude earthquake hit about 1 mile outside of the Little America truck stop along I-80. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. On a typical day, Google processes over 16 billion searches, but the World Cup is keeping their servers busy.
On Tuesday night, the world's most popular search engine crushed its own all-time record for searches per second. And it's no coincidence that it comes during World Cup play in North America. Google won't disclose precise numbers, but says the most searched term was Argentina versus Egypt.
That was ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 208 points to 52,556. Coming up, triple-digit heat is 1 day away. Get ready. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31. The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Pack a picnic, bring your friends, and meet us in Park City. It's time for the 2026 Deer Valley Music Festival, the summer home of the Utah Symphony. Hear joyful masterworks like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in the Wasatch Mountains. Sing your heart out with iconic performers like Idina Menzel and Lyle Lovett. Relax with concerts under the stars and make new family traditions. Every concert is a chance to experience the best of the Utah Symphony in the beauty of Park City. Concerts will sell out. Get your tickets and plan your visit at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org.
They power the cloud, but at what cost to your neighborhood?
Data centers are booming in South Jordan and Harriman, leaving residents with questions and concerns. Now, those facilities are working to win over their neighbors. Beyond Box Elder, tonight at 10. Saddle up for your chance to watch some Bronc Bust in action at the Days of 47 Rodeo, July 21st. Visit KSL.com/contest and enter to win a family 6-pack of tickets. Winners will be announced daily on KSL's Facebook page.
Right now, UCCU is offering short-term savings options with incredibly high yields. Simply make a deposit, then watch your savings grow with a fixed rate of return that's much higher than a savings account. UCCU also has great offers on jump-up options. So if rates continue to rise, you can jump up your rate and earn even more. Visit uccu.com to learn more and supercharge your savings today. UCCU. Love where you bank.
I'm Walker Kessler, and I play basketball for a living. So I know how important it is to have the support of a team you can trust. That's why I love UCCU. UCCU is more than a credit union. They're a true financial partner, a local team of experts your entire family can trust at every step of your financial journey. Just visit uccu.com and elevate your banking experience.
Hey Utah, Jimmer Fredette here. You remember Jimmermania? When the building got loud, the tempo sped up, and you could feel something special was about to happen? That's the same kind of energy you get behind the wheel at BMW of Pleasant Grove. Quick acceleration, sharp handling, total control. Whether you're hitting I-15 for work, making the school run, or heading out for the weekend. Because great driving is like great basketball. Quick decisions, smooth moves, and confidence when it matters. And if you know my game, you know that I love the three-pointer. Catch it, rise up, let it fly. In a BMW, it's the same feeling. Smooth, precise, and dialed in. Like you're pulling from deep, and you know it's money the second it leaves your hand. The crew at BMW of Pleasant Grove makes the whole process easy too. No pressure, no runaround. Just a premium experience from shopping to financing to service that has your back for miles. So if you're ready to upgrade your drive and bring that game day energy to every day, visit BMW of Pleasant Grove or online at bmwofpg.com. BMW of Pleasant Grove. Drive elevated.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Just a couple of slow spots on I-15 southbound in Murray approaching 5300 south. Could be some debris in the road, watching those lanes slow down. And then a little bit further south again, delayed after 7200 south in Midvale. And then we have some delays eastbound I-80. This is after the US 40 interchange. It looks like we may have a crash getting through East Basin there. Otherwise, though, roadway's looking really good all across the Wasatch Front. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a scorching forecast in store. 95 today, tomorrow 100, Saturday 104, and a record-setting 106 in the forecast for Sunday. Right now it's 84 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You know, in America, we always think we want things bigger and better than ever, but is that true with the growing data centers going up around the country?
I think it depends on who you ask, but KSL went to Loudoun County, Virginia, the data center alley, to find out what they think there. We talked about that earlier this week with Daniela Rivera. So if you missed that, you can check out the Inside Sources podcast or see her stories at ksl.com.
Yeah, and reporter Mike Anderson has also been digging into data centers. In his most recent report, he digs into the reasons for data centers getting bigger and bigger. And he joins us now in studio with more. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, guys.
So KSL 5 TV reporter, we feel so lucky. Tell us about, I watched your report that aired last night. Tell us about what you found out in Utah.
Yeah, well, Holly, you know, we've seen it with the Stratos project. That proposal came out, hey, we're going to be the biggest ever in landmass. And it seems like every project suddenly is claiming to be the biggest ever in some way or another, in power consumption, in landmass, in square footage, whatever it is. And the reason why we're seeing that is, you know, data centers have been around forever, ever since the start of the internet. But what's happening now is we've got this explosion of AI where suddenly
it needs a lot more resources to power those data centers, and that's where we're seeing that.
So is the answer seemingly bigger data centers as opposed to more? I mean, is that where we're sort of leaning?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that way. To power AI, you've got to have these big data centers that use a lot of power. I mean, you look at just ChatGPT initially, the parameters of data would be like 117 million that it used in version 1. By version 5.5 that we have now, it's like 9.7 trillion. So you can just see just the growing, just how data hungry AI is. And so that's why they need these huge data centers to make it run. And in the meantime, they're still working on improving those chatbot models.
That's so interesting. One of the things I wanted to ask you is we've talked a lot about the Box Elder one, the Stratos Data Center, as being a hyperscale project, which until we started talking about that, I didn't even know what that was. But there already are some underway in the state of Utah. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got more hyperscale projects. There's a couple down near Delta. You've got the Creekside, which is looking to be probably going to be bigger than Stratos, because now Stratos is down to 10,000. They're looking at 11,000 acres down there, and that's because of the sheer volume of it, the amount of gigawatts of power that they're going to use. And then there's also Joule, which is not as big, but also another hyperscale project down there.
I guess I don't understand, and this might be an unfair question to you, Mike, but the data center is not 10,000 acres. It's not 1 acre. So why the land grab? Do you know?
That's a good question, and you know.
I mean, it is hard to look at. Have the infrastructure around it, the power, and the having people available, but the building's going to be bigger than any other data center. But it just seems like the footprint seems awfully big.
Yeah, and my understanding is, in terms of Stratos and some of these other ones, is that a lot of that's going to be for power generation, where the data center itself is not going to be that huge, but you're going to have a lot of power generation to get up to 9 gigawatts for Stratos, up to 11 for Creekside, so that's where a lot of that's coming from.
One of the things that still blows my mind is that the state of Utah right now uses 4 gigawatts, and we're talking about more than one data center that would use more than double what the entire state uses right now.
Right. It sounds crazy when you put it that way, but that's the amount of power that is needed to power AI. And the question, when you look at the first supercomputer, those pictures back in the 50s, those were huge, right? And now you can do more than that in your phone.
Right.
So the question is it going to get smaller? Maybe, but are the needs going to get greater too? It's hard to know.
That is the Moore's Law. My husband has taught me that because he's a computer guy, that technology doubles every 18 months and the price cuts in half, right? So maybe it would. But I wanted to ask you about residents' response also, because Delta is little. Box Elder County, that's little too. What are the residents down there thinking about these data centers?
Well, the ones I highlighted in the story, we're not thrilled with it. But I will be honest that there were several that said, it's out of town. I don't really care. It's not my thing. So there were a lot that were ambivalent, but there were several that were just, we don't want this here. We've already got, we're in a desert. We struggle to have enough water for our agriculture. Where are these resources going to go now?
Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask you. Utah certainly has a lot of land, a lot of federal land, a lot of open land. Great place to build a big center, but we don't have any water. We really are in a water shortage, and that's going to get worse. Is that a concern that a lot of the residents have, and maybe even some of the proponents of these data centers? Where are we going to get the water for them?
Yeah, and that's certainly a concern that residents have. To be fair, the data center industry is quickly moving toward, and this is really the standard nowadays, to these closed loop systems where you have basically maybe a few Olympic swimming pool sized amounts of water in one cooling system, but they reuse that water over and over again for years before they have to replace it. I've talked to some that have been running for 5+ years. They've not had to change that water out. The question to me becomes, how much water are you using for power generation? Mm-hmm. And that, in many cases, is not clear because we don't know what type of sources they're using. In the terms of Stratos, we're just that I've been searching for that answer, and it's not clear.
So another question that I have, and I know Daniela brought this out in her portion about Virginia, is the noise, right? And this was coming, she said, from gas-powered generation. Yeah. And that there's this high-pitched hum that just is there constantly. Is that a concern for people down there? I know it's not built out yet, but are they worried?
The folks that I've talked to are, that's less their worry than is the resources, because the closest one is what, 9-10 miles out of town, and so they're not going to really be hearing those noises. Some people wonder what is that going to do to wildlife. I don't have the answer to that. Is that going to draw them away from those areas? I don't know.
That's interesting.
Do you think that the recent notoriety of the data centers in terms of Box Elder County and everything that's happened there has got people more attuned to what's going on here? We seem like when we were talking about the one in Delta, and that's been a couple months ago, it was just a done thing. We were just, okay, they're building this data center in Delta somewhere between, part of Millard County, between Delta and Fillmore, and it'll be a great center. It just kind of went on. Then all of a sudden we're up in Box Elder County, and it's a big deal. It just seems like, I know I'm getting to a question here, trust me. Is the public more in tune or more
because
sort of aware of what's going on because of that?
Well, I think so. I mean, you had Kevin O'Leary come out with 40,000 acres, and people, that sounds huge, and that was kind of. I feel like he's certainly stepped back from that, and it's going to be smaller now. But when you come up with big numbers, that sounds good for investors, I think.
Yeah.
But for homeowners and everyday people, it doesn't sound good. And so I think that really drew a lot of attention to it. And I'm trying to get back to the original question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I rambled a bit.
Do you think that people are more opposed because of the Stratos data center? Because it really brought a lot of attention to it.
Yeah, I think that's really brought a lot of attention. Suddenly became a statewide issue because people are looking at, this has potential impacts to our environment. And then, these projects down in Delta, a lot of local leaders push them as like, look, these are going to bring jobs. These are going to be good for the economy, which is probably true. But I have found, as I've been digging, that there are groups of people in the communities that really have big concerns.
Yeah, seriously.
There are also, I would say, as you bring in the jobs, then you have to have infrastructure they need a place to live. They need roads to drive on. They need all of those things too. So it's not just, hey, this will bring jobs. So look, we need to take a break, but I want to keep this conversation on data centers going. So there's one more in-depth report coming out tonight. If you'll stick with us, you can give us a preview right here on Inside Sources.
Dear Linex, 8 years ago when I bought one of your spray-on truck bed liners, I started my construction business, then landscaping, then there were the camping trips. But even after all that, my Linex spray-on bed liner still looks great. Thing is, I'd really like to get rid of that old truck. Isn't there any way to destroy this thing?
Actually, no. Linex spray-on bed liners are guaranteed for the life of your truck. Linex, serious protection, killer looks, guaranteed.
Linex of Midvale is now open for business at 7000 South State. Linex and Jordan Camper have teamed up to offer you the very best in protective coatings and truck accessories. We specialize in truck tops and tonneau covers from ARE, a wide range of products from floor mats to step bars. Just what you need to make your truck look and perform its best. Jordan Camper at 7000 South State features multiple installation bays with trained technicians ready to install. Follow us on jordancamper.com and Facebook.
There's nothing better than getting outside with the people you love. And in Utah, we have endless ways to stay active and healthy outdoors. But staying healthy also means staying safe. Intermountain Health recommends that you wear the right gear, stay hydrated, protect your skin, and plan ahead before you go. Know your limits and choose activities that keep it safe and fun for everyone. Because when you make health and safety a part of every adventure, you're taking care of what matters most: your life, your health.
Downsize without compromise with Ovation Homes. Join KSL's Greenhouse Show at Ovation Homes July 11th during the Northern Wasatch Parade with prize giveaways and more. Visit OvationHomesUtah.com. Your best years start here.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit NPSstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. NPSstore.com.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, It means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
911, tell me exactly what happened. My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
It is July, and it is getting hot. For years, I've always called July the patriotic month. Not only do we have national celebrations, but we have the state celebration as well, and it's time to get the perfect steak going on the grill, but not your grill. The grill that is waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I know we like to think that we're pretty good, as a backyard barbecuer, and some no, but Ruth's Chris will always present the perfect steak in a wonderful environment where it's air conditioned. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about anything other than sitting back with friends, neighbors, and family and enjoying the best meal you have ever had. 275 Southwest Temple. That's Ruth's Chris right here in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. If you're heading up into the mountains, Hotel Park City. It's the perfect meal for July waiting for you at Ruth's Chris.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
If it feels like this data center conversation just keeps going on and on and on, I hear you. But there's so much to this story, so we have to keep digging into it.
And this whole week, our partners at KSL TV have been airing some in-depth reports on data centers in Virginia and what we can learn here in Utah from people who already live among these huge data centers.
So the final report airs tonight on KSL News, KSL 5 News at 10 o'clock. We're joined again by reporter Mike Anderson to talk more about what his final story will cover. Thanks for staying in studio with us, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Give us a preview of tonight.
So tonight, we're looking at the idea that, these data centers likely aren't going away anytime soon. And so some companies, at least some companies, are striving to become as good neighbors as possible. They want to be quiet. They want to, as they're using power, they want to give back into the power grid as well. And so there's one company I talked to here in Salt Lake, DataBank. They've got a total of 6 data centers across the Salt Lake Valley. I went to one of their larger ones down in Grantsville, 46 megawatts. So we're not talking about gigawatts like some of these newer projects, but still quite big. And they've got a number of things there that they've been doing. They've got the closed loop system for cooling, which doesn't use a whole lot of water. They've got their estimates is like 3 Olympic-sized pools that's in those pipes that uses over and over again. They haven't had to change it out. And they've got coolers on the top of the building, which you might think is the sort of noise concern. But we went out to the neighborhood next door, couldn't hear anything there. I talked to a few neighbors. They said they haven't had any issues as neighbors. So There's that, and then there's been some other examples that were not so good. A data center in West Jordan aligned, and I did reach out to that company, and they did respond this morning. But they have some set of backup generators that turn on from time to time, that could be quite loud right next to the neighborhood, and people have been complaining about that. They say that this is only something that's used in backup power situations and testing, but the neighbors there say it runs quite often.
I'm sure they're all different, Mike, but describe a data center. I mean, it's not like walking into a Home Depot, I take it.
No, and the tough thing is, they did give me a tour at DataBank, but they also have to be careful because there's some areas they can't show us for proprietary reasons because they've got multiple clients. So I don't get to see all of the, the processors and all that stuff. But I got to see the closed loop cooling system and some of how it's attached to the processors inside. But it's a large building, and there's not. You don't see a lot of people in there, but they do have employees.
Sure.
I'm not clear on how many they have, but they're there to keep it up and running. And
yeah, I mean that's interesting. I was just wondering what a data center looks like. I mean,
is it? I'm going to ask related. Does it look like stacks of servers? I mean, like I've seen those maybe from even 20 years ago. Is it like that?
Yeah. Again, that's something that they would not show us because of client confidentiality. So we just kind of got to see sort of the exterior of the operations, the cooling, the power, and that sort of thing.
And so what your take was, though, that at least the one that you saw, I think you said in West Jordan, the neighbors were not troubled by it. It was...
the one in Grantsville, yeah.
Right.
The neighbors I talked to said they haven't had any issues with them as neighbors. One said that, there was a power substation that went up to support it. They, visually they didn't love that, but otherwise they said they haven't had any issues.
Interesting. There for people who are around data centers that already exist in Utah, have they noticed maybe any increase in electricity rates or like you just said, they don't hear noise in that particular neighborhood, but other ones do. Were there any other things that people brought up as concerns?
Yeah, I mean, we hear a lot about the power rates and concerns with that. And I talked to people in 3 neighborhoods, and that was not something that they saw an issue with. That's, some people said they're concerned. We see a lot of news about data centers. Are they going to raise our power rates? But they said that themselves haven't seen it yet.
Did it seem that these developers of the data centers are a little more circumspect now, a little more, whoa, like because of the scrutiny that they're under? I mean, you're not there because it's
right,
just a new building coming up in town, the new ice cream shop. I mean, it's controversial.
Yeah, and the folks, like I said, of the ones that I reached out to, the folks at DataBank were the most transparent with me and most willing to work with me, and certainly they say, hey, we're going to be here. We know there's a lot of concerns, and so we want to work with the community and be a contributor more than a detractor. And so they understand that they're very much in the public eye right now. And they want to, for example, for every megawatt of power they use, they buy that equivalent in clean energy, in solar.
Right.
And they invest in those things, and so they're trying to do their best to be a good neighbor.
So I'm going to ask you, what is something that you learned from doing this investigation?
Oh boy, that's
a lot.
A lot.
Just pick one.
There's so many things that keep me up at night and keep me wondering. So, yeah, I mean, there's still, there's so many. The water is the thing I have a lot of questions about. The interesting thing that the folks at DataBank said is out of their 6 data centers, they use less water than one golf course, which was interesting to me because we hear a lot of concerns about water.
Right.
About the water as well, you've got those closed loop systems. There's a water glycol mix, generally safe, but there's still glycol. You can't flush it down the drain. There's still some concerns there. So my question is, what happens years down the line? Maybe they do have to replace the water. I still don't have a clear answer for that, and I can't get it anywhere. I've gone to the state. I've gone to the industry, and I feel like I still don't have an answer.
That's really interesting. There is a company in Utah. Well, it's a national company, but Valor Atomics. They just announced that they're trying to do a data center that uses almost no water at all. There's something that they're going to do for cooling that doesn't use water. So I'll be interested to see that because I know people are really concerned about that.
Not in a Utah desert, probably. I mean, you got to cool it somehow.
Yeah.
Even our computers required a high level of cooling early on.
Right, but what I'm saying is they don't have to use water to cool it.
Oh,
that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
well, one reason that the industry loves Utah is because during the winter, they essentially don't need a whole lot of effort to cool
it.
Right.
That's right.
Or even in the evenings, a lot in some of these locations.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you spoke about water and things in the water. I saw a story this week about Wyoming that found a data center up there. It's supposed to be for Meta, a hyperscale data center. They ended up contaminating the water supply with bacteria.
I've seen that. I've been following that. And it's very interesting. And you hear these stories that kind of go viral, and it raises a big alarm,
and then
big
you're
concern.
like, oh, I didn't think about that.
But at the same time, we have data centers everywhere. We're not hearing about this everywhere. So it's hard to come to a conclusion there.
So for our listeners that want to see your program, tell us when it airs and how they can watch it. And even the ones that have led up to this.
Yeah, you can see them all at KSL.com. This coming story on data centers as neighbors is coming up tonight at 10.
Okay, great. Hey.
Thanks. We do have a texter that tells me I need to go into the KSL data closet, then times that by 1,000, and that's a data center.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So thanks so much for that.
Us.
Yeah, thanks
we'll
for joining us.
Look forward to your program tonight.
It's super interesting, and we've had texters before tell us we don't know what we're talking about, Greg, but we're trying to understand. I think just like everybody else, and I think that there are concerns that are valid that haven't been addressed, especially when we're talking about the scale of these super big hyperscale data centers.
And Mike interviewed some people at one of particular centers, and he talked about one that was pretty forthcoming. I almost wonder if we should get him in here, one of these groups, and just say, hey, tell us about your center. And because, we need to get both sides of this, and our listeners are right. We may not know what we're talking about. We're trying to learn and trying to educate our listeners. So let's get people from all sides and come in and break it down.
Well, I'd be interested in a tour, right? So I like using the internet. I think that we have definitely incorporated that as part of our lifestyle, storing stuff on the cloud, which is amorphous, right? The cloud means it's not stored in a physical location, which means you have to have a way to do that. So it's just that there are so many questions. And, we've talked about water as a big concern. Well, that leads us into what we're going to talk about in our next hour, because there are some scientists and water managers now working the Colorado River who say it's time to drain Lake Powell.
Ouch.
And let the water go to save Lake Mead. So I want to talk about this when we come back after this break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock here at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. A former Olympic canoeist who's been charged with felony destruction of property at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool has pleaded not guilty. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy has more from Washington.
The brief hearing in D.C. Superior Court had former Olympian David Hearn entering a not guilty plea. Attorney Norm Eisen.
It is not a crime to touch the reflecting pool, to touch water in the United States of America.
In an interview with ABC News shortly after his arrest, Hearn insisted he only touched a loose piece of blue liner and didn't rip or tear anything. Prosecutors have charged Hearn with felony destruction of property, a crime that's punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
In local news, it's not just Utah that's in a drought. Nearly all of the western United States is struggling with their water supply this year. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Drought is covering over 70% of the 11 states in the western region right now, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor.
Drought has been ongoing now in some places, particularly in the Intermountain West, for several years now. And so it's been widespread for several years, and it's been increasing in severity over the last year.
In an Intermountain West media briefing, National Water Center Deputy Director Edward Clark says the whole of Utah is in drought, but in western Colorado and southwest Idaho, they have some of the worst conditions. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've got green across the board with the Dow Jones up 171 points. That's 0.3%. The S&P 500 up 51 points. That's nearly 0.7%. And the Nasdaq up 253 points. That is just nearly 1%. Coming up, enjoy the last double-digit day for quite a while. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Progressive presents the Museum of You.
We begin our tour with a unique piece, a relic from the early big screen television era. Remarkable. Next, we find a juicer, which historians believe has only ever been used once. And finally, compact discs from the emo era. A rare find indeed.
Some things should be history, but until then you could protect what's important to you and save by bundling your auto insurance with a renter's policy from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Hey, honey, I was thinking about updating the house a little.
A little?
You know, new siding, new windows, gutters that actually work, maybe even a new deck.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I called RGS Exteriors.
Well, that's a good decision.
When it comes to upgrading your home's exterior, the right choice is easy. RGS Exteriors specializes in siding, windows, gutters, and decking that transform the look and protection of your home.
Hi, Tim Brown, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Overall, things are looking good out there. The Salt Lake Valley freeways are in good shape, but we do have a crash. This is eastbound I-80, just east of Highway 40, going between Highway 40 and Wanship. That is causing some serious slowdowns in that area. It's Lagoon's deal of the decade in July. Single-day tickets are $59.95 plus tax with purchase of 2 or more, online only. Promo code not required. Visit lagoonpark.com. lagoonpark.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is the last day with highs in the 90s before we break into 100-degree-plus days from tomorrow till Monday. The National Weather Service has issued an extreme heat warning for this weekend for most of northern Utah, so make sure to stay hydrated and cool off whenever possible. Right now, though, it's 85 degrees and sunny in downtown Salt Lake. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Utah's Water Watch. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
So this story did kind of catch me by surprise, but it raises some interesting points. Should we drain Lake Powell to make sure Lake Mead, which sits downstream on the Colorado River, survives? You can chime in and let me know what you think. The KSL text line's 57500. Greg.
Oh, my gosh.
What do you think?
This is another one, Holly. I mean, I just remember from my days in college with all my liberal tree hugger friends talking about Lake Powell has destroyed this beautiful area, all these great historic sites, these great Native American sites. We need to drain it. In fact, one of my favorite books in college was Edward Abbey's book, The Monkey Wrench Gang, which was a book about
never heard of it.
about a group of people planning to blow up the Glen Canyon Dam and drain Lake Powell by force. I mean, you got to read The Monkey Wrench Gang. Well, maybe it's not your thing, but it was Ed Abbey wrote it, and it was really literally about how Lake Powell had, in his mind, everybody has a different opinion, it sort of destroyed that whole system down there. Now, I've also taken advantage of Lake Powell and been on the houseboat and been down there fishing and spent a lot of time on that water, and it's beautiful. But it has really changed that whole part of the state.
It's really interesting to me that that's even a discussion, and it's not the first time it's been brought up. But here's one of the things to know, I guess, that I just learned about it. So Lake Powell is the second largest reservoir in the U.S. Do you know the first one?
The one that we're trying to
It's
fill.
Lake Mead.
Right, yeah.
And they're both sitting at about 24%. Lake Powell is a little bit underneath that. But one of the things that happens with Lake Powell is there are 6 million acre feet of water that you can't get to once it goes down just a little lower, because there's no access to the bottom of the dam. There's no outlet. And so if you were going to make it accessible to Lake Mead, you would have to basically drill tunnels in the bottom to be able to let the water out.
Yeah, because it's not the bottom of the lake. The bottom of the dam isn't the bottom of the lake.
That's right.
So there's still a lot there. If the goal is to get as much water as possible into Lake Mead, they're going to have to drill and dig some tunnels down there, and they've already talked about how that would go about in order to get that that water down there. But if you think about it, let's assume the lakes are basically the same size, Mead slightly bigger, and Lake Powell's at 23%, Lake Mead's at 25%. Then what do we do? Make Lake Mead at 50%? I mean, it's still going to be under.
That's one of the issues, and I think it's one of the broader conversations that we need to have about water in the state and the Colorado River. And that there's so much going on with that, right? But I found out that the program director at the Glen Canyon Institute said, "Why was Glen Canyon Dam built? Is that still working?" The answer is no. But you also have federal water managers at the Bureau of Reclamation who have ordered emergency actions to shore up Lake Powell, moving water from Flaming Gorge. But they acknowledge this is like a 1-year fix. We're hoping for more precipitation, really.
Yeah, I mean, we need some big years, and they're also thinking about, for those monkey wrenchers down there, they're not going to blow up the dam. They're thinking about keeping it.
Right.
And in case we do have big years when we need to store water because we fill Lake Mead, so that the Glen Canyon Dam will survive, certainly. I mean, it would be waste to just destroy it, but in case we do get back to where we're flush with water, so that we can have a place to put overflow from Lake Mead.
It's also interesting to me, right, how much the community down there depends on tourism. So that they're seeing an impact already this week. One of the things that I think it's Page, Arizona. Mm-hmm. They have like 7,500 permanent residents, but they see 5 million visitors a year typically. But this year, people already know, like they've closed some of the docks, and there's like people just aren't going there to recreate this year.
Yeah, I remember taking my son and a group of his friends on a college graduation trip down to Lake Powell, and we had the greatest time in the world. We rented a big houseboat, and people who have been down there will appreciate this. And probably half the state's been down there on a houseboat at one point in their lives, and it's just a great place to recreate. And it's so big, and you just get out there and you just go and go and go. And the communities, to your point, have made. We've made some very successful communities down there in that area
based on
because
tourism.
of tourism
Yep.
and the marinas and the houseboats and the people coming down there to recreate, and that would be a huge loss for those communities. Maybe they make it up in other ways, such as mountain biking and fishing and things like that. But
yes, but you're not going to replace 5 million, I don't think, visitors.
Nope.
But look, we do have some people who have texted in with their opinions, and please do so if you still have opinions. 57500. One says no to draining Lake Powell. It's just a cycle. I hope that's true. One says yes, drain Lake Powell and allow that area to return to its natural beauty. And one tells me, please, you have to read Monkey Wrench Gang.
Yes.
So, there you go.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was one of my favorite books. It's not a cycle. Okay, I'm just going to stick my neck out. We're in
You're
deep
on a roll
trouble.
today, man.
We're in deep trouble, and the climate's not getting better. And I would say, if anything, we're going to continue to get worse, and this drought is not going to get much better. I mean, we'll have good years. We'll have big years. Maybe we'll have some monsoonal moisture or something like that where we'll get some water. But as it sits, I think that if there is a cycle here, it's probably a 20, 30, 50-year cycle before we get.
Well, what's interesting is I'm looking at a Newsweek.com article about it, and they've got a graph in there from the Bureau of Reclamation. So, yes, there's variation, but the overall slope of the chart is down, and this is going from basically January 2015. So that's one of the things with the Colorado River, right, is the amount of water in the Colorado River has been decreasing. And so the amount of water in these reservoirs has also been decreasing.
And we've been talking for years about using Flaming Gorge because that reservoir seems to be flush and seems to be doing well as a way to get water into the Colorado River system and get down to Lake Powell. But it's not nearly as big as those two lakes, Powell and Meade, and even if you drained, Flaming Gorge entirely, which obviously is never going to happen, but it's not going to fill those up to the levels where they want to be. And to generate hydroelectric power, we're already in trouble. At Lake Powell,
we're just so close to the cutoff where we won't even be able to generate any power at all.
Right.
I think it feels a little bit tenuous to say we're relying on water in the West to only come from precipitation, but of course that makes sense. But also, it's like, yes, and what if it doesn't come?
Yeah.
Like, what if the water doesn't come? What if we don't get the monsoonal rains in July? I don't know.
Well, let's see if Hayduke lives. For those who've listened or read the Monkey Wrench Gang,
I'll
just leave it at that. Well, we want to get to a story we didn't get to earlier because we were waiting for the evidence to come in on the Charlie Kirk matter. But that is whether or not a White House-backed Freedom Fuel network will help with rising fuel prices and help to get them back down. We'll take a look at this new idea taking shape back east when we come back. Actually, I think they are actually going to play the video. They're going to play the video now of the interview with Tyler Robinson's roommate, Lance Twiggs. This is an interview that Lance gave to law enforcement shortly after the homicide. Let's join that live.
So help you God? Yes. I also need to notify you that you are notified that statements you are about to make may be presented to a magistrate or a judge in lieu of your sworn testimony at a preliminary examination. Any false statement you make and that you do not believe to be true may subject you to criminal punishment as a Class A misdemeanor. You understand that? Yes. It potentially could be used as for punishment as a higher offense as obstruction of justice. In addition, I just want to make sure that our recording here is clear that you've also been given a federal agreement and a state agreement granting you immunity from prosecution for materials that you discuss now. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. Okay. First, we're going to cover some of the things that you've already talked about, but to make it as part of this record. First, what's your name?
Full name with middle name or just first and last?
First and last is fine.
Okay, my name is Lance Twiggs.
And do you know Tyler Robinson?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
And this is the same Tyler Robinson that's been charged with the shooting of Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
And would you say when you first met Tyler?
I think it was 2023. I've known him longer than that, though. That was, I think, the first time I met him in person.
Okay. And will you describe your relationship with Tyler when you first met him anyway?
When I first met him, I didn't know him super well. He was just a new roommate, so I knew he knew my friend group, and I knew he liked playing games, but that's about it when we first, when he first moved in.
Okay. Before we go on, I realized my mic was muted at the outset. Was yours on, your microphone? Okay. I'm going to repeat those admonitions just to make sure we've got it recorded. Okay, so again, I placed you under oath. Just to make a record, I'm going to do it again. You do solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give in this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And again, I'm going to give you the false statement admonition.
Sorry, hold on. If they're saying that it's echoing, so I
think this one's mic is on.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, you don't owe me my mic, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so we should be good. All right.
We're listening to an interview by Tyler Robinson's former roommate, Lance Twiggs, recorded shortly after the homicide, and it's being played live in court. We're going to go back to that right now.
Sorry about that interruption. All right, so you said when you first met you were roommates?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at some point, your relationship progressed to something more than just roommates, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
I think we started dating 2 or 3 months after he moved in.
Okay. And where did you live at that time?
St. George, in an apartment complex.
And is that apartment the same place you lived when on September 10th?
Yes.
When you lived there with Tyler, were you in the same room? Did you live in the same room or different rooms?
No, separate rooms.
And at that time, let's say September of 2025, what were you doing with your life? Were you working, school?
I was working. I was doing like bathtub and shower repair and stuff in new construction.
Okay. How about Tyler?
I think he was both working. I think he was working for an electrician company then, and he was also in a trade school for being higher ranking electrician. I'm not sure how the trade system works for that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he was both.
What was his typical work day like?
I think he'd leave around 7 generally and get back around 3 to 4, depending on where the job was and how long it was for the day. And then on certain days of the week during school, semesters, he would then later in the day, I think around 5 or 6, go to school. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's jump to September 10th. Did he spend the night in the apartment the night of September 9th into September 10th?
Into September 10th. Yeah, he did. Yes.
Do you know when he left the apartment on September 10th?
I don't know an exact time. I just know he left early. I heard him leaving, and he just said he had a long drive to work that day, so he was leaving early.
Okay, so early. Any guess as to what when that was?
I don't know. I would have thought it was 5 a.m. because that's when an early work day was for him, but it was probably more like 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna have him spit out his gum just to make sure that
I can do that.
You're right in front of your laptop.
Oh, here you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so what time did you get up on September 10th?
Probably 12 to 1 p.m.
You didn't have to work that day?
No.
And did you hear from Tyler? Did he call or text you before then?
No, he sent that message in the group chat I mentioned, but he didn't message me directly at all that day.
Okay. When did you first hear from him on September 10th?
It was at 11 o'clock with that, like, automated message.
Okay, 11 p.m.?
Yeah.
We're in a redacted portion right now, which is why it's silent. So that's what's happening in the courtroom live right now.
He asks you here, remember how I was engraving bullets? Was he engraving bullets before this?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when, but he had said he was planning to go hunting with his family. And he asked me for if we had a Dremel because he said he wanted to engrave messages on bullets. And I just told him where our Dremel was, and I told him to make sure he doesn't set off a bullet on accident in the house. But I didn't really think about it until then.
How long before September 10th was this that he asked about the Dremel?
I don't remember, because he'd been talking about the hunting/camping trip for a couple months. But I don't remember when he was specifically asking to engrave the bullets. So
are we talking like a year before?
Oh no, not that long. It would have been I'd say at most a month before this was when he was asking.
Okay.
We're listening to an investigator's April 20th recorded interview with Tyler Robinson's former roommate, Lance Twiggs. There's several parts of it that have been cut out.
He talked about the note that he left.
There's some breaks in the action.
I want to bring this up, and I should say that these text messages that we've been looking at here are Bates number 54. Okay, the notes have been titled 16.3 with a note, and this is Bates number 58. Do you recognize that on the screen there?
Yeah.
What do you recognize it as?
That was the note under his keyboard that he was referring to in the first text of that chain.
Okay, so where did you find this?
On his desk underneath his computer keyboard.
And I assume you read it.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with it after you read it?
I believe I just put it back down on the desk after I took a picture of it.
Okay. And again, the time you read it was probably around 11 o'clock or so on the 10th.
Yes.
The night of September 10th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And did you ever see that again after you placed it back on his desk?
No, I don't think I did.
And that was a desk in his bedroom?
Yes.
And that's a separate bedroom than your bedroom?
Yeah.
And now I want to go to what's been titled 16.2. And do you recognize this series of messages here?
Yeah, that was the server of his friend that I was mentioning.
Okay, and this is your phone again?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you recognize it because the big crack up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a server. Is this Discord?
Yeah, this is Discord.
And who are members of this server? I don't want names, just generally. Who are these people? Members of
this is his friend group. They played D&D together every week.
Okay. And I just want to scroll through this to make sure that you get a chance to take a look at it. Or go to the next page.
Mm-hmm. Or yes.
So Tyler Icom, who's that?
That's Tyler Robinson.
And these other people are just others that are members of the server?
Yes.
Jug, Barnaby, Marina, DM.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, DM means Dungeon Master. So these are like, most of them are names they're using in the game they're playing currently.
Got it. Yeah, it looks like the last text from Tyler looks like it's 8 p.m. And do you know what day this would have been? 8 p.m. on the 10th or the 11th?
I would think that would be the 11th. Because at least I think so, because I don't think on the 10th that he messaged anyone before me at like 11. So.
And he turned himself in on the 11th, right?
I thought so, yeah.
So again, we're just going to go through this so that we have a record of the messages.
So this is the first bit of a long interview between the state's investigator and Lance Twiggs. It was done and recorded on April 20th of this year, which would have been about 7 months after the homicide. And he's going through some things that were found at Twiggs' house. In fact, Tyler Robinson left some sort of a note underneath his keyboard. And then he's also talking about some of the text messages that were exchanged in the chat group. And I think the purpose of the purpose of these are to point the finger at Tyler Robinson, because he makes statements that some might call admissions or confessions to the homicide. And some of these were made in anticipation of it. Like, I think the thing left under the keyboard was, by the time you read this, I will have already done this act. So he's just laying the foundation for those. This could go for quite some time, but I just wanted to get our listeners up to speed that this is the witness that we've sort of been waiting for, although the testimony is coming in very, very slowly. But they have to lay the foundation for it. And the video also has a lot of times that are redacted. So the court is simply cutting the audio out, but it continues to play. And I think that this whole interview is something like 2 hours, so we certainly don't want to.
Are you exaggerating?
No, I think it really is a very, very long interview.
Wow, that's amazing. So, yeah, they cut audio, but I also see for some of the screens, they've like put up they're redacting by like putting up a black screen or something. So
yeah, it may be shorter than that, but I just heard that it was quite a long interview. So
they're playing all but 16 minutes of it?
Yeah, like I say, we could be for a while today. Wow. But it's an important part of the state's case, because it is the linchpin between Tyler Robinson and the homicide, if you consider his own words being used against him, which is what's happening here. Now, this is an interview that the defense wanted to do live. They wanted to put Lance Twiggs on the stand. He's out of state apparently, and they had begged the court, saying, "Look,
so that they could cross-examine.
Can we just bring him in here and let's just put him on the stand so we don't have to go through this whole hearsay conversation?" And the court denied that. It was a little bit of a controversial ruling, because we don't typically allow the defense to call witnesses. On the other hand, we want them to be able to effectively cross-examine witnesses. So, yeah.
All right. Well, stay with us, because KSL will continue to follow the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing. But when we come back, I want to talk about nuclear power. So coming up, we have Maria Chaleos, who is going to join us. She has been doing a ton of research for her all-new KSL News Daily podcast, and so we want to pick her brain a little bit. We'll be right back.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner has made his intentions known that he's dropping out of the race. Plattner has been facing multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, the latest one an allegation of sexual assault by a former girlfriend. Plattner has denied the allegations. More from ABC's Avery Harper, who says candidates are already stepping up and a nominating convention will be held.
Troy Jackson, who was a progressive gubernatorial candidate, he is somebody who is a logger. He was endorsed by Bernie Sanders in that gubernatorial primary that he did not win. He is running. We know that CDC alum and public health official in Maine, Nirav Shah, he is also among the names of folks who are throwing their hat in the ring to become the next nominee in this race.
Plattner has until July 13th to put his intentions to drop out in writing. In local news, Utah lawmakers say they're going to hold off on proposing a constitutional amendment that would allow them to alter or throw out voter-led ballot initiatives. They last tried this in 2024, but now Utah's House Speaker and Senate President tells KSL they want the court case over Utah's congressional maps to wrap up before trying that again. In a statement to KSL, Senate President Stuart Adams says, quote, "We believe this litigation should proceed through the judicial process." Taking a look at your money at this moment, we got green across the board. The Dow Jones is up 182 points. That's 0.35%. The S&P 500 is up 60 points. That's 0.81%. And the Nasdaq is up 307 points. That's a little over 1.2%. Coming up, we've got a heat warning in effect for most of northern Utah this weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
It's amazing how much can change for the better in just 4 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. What if everything felt different 4 weeks from now? Well, that's what happens when you start your SOTA diet and nutrition plan with a nutritionist from SOTA. In 4 weeks, you could lose up to 25 pounds and never get it back because they'll teach you what to do and how to keep it off.
And here's one even better, Andy. What if those 4 weeks were free?
Oh, my. Now you're talking.
If you call 866-800-SOTA, S-O-T-A, or just go online to SOTAdietandnutrition.com, mention KSL, you can get 4 weeks for free.
You'll work one-on-one with a degreed nutritionist who'll guide you every step of the way. You'll learn what works for your body. And here's the best part. No injections, no pills, no ongoing prescription cost.
Because at SOTA, they believe that weight loss should be temporary, but results should be permanent, and they are.
So call 866-800-SOTA to talk with a degreed nutritionist, or go to SOTA, S-O-T-A, dietandnutrition.com, because Amanda, SOTA is, say it with me,
state of the art.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Annie's first oil change wasn't as hard as she thought, because she went to AutoZone, where a friendly AutoZoner helped her find the right oil and save on an oil filter. He explained the job and showed her free how-tos on AutoZone.com. When she was done, AutoZone recycled her old oil for free. Get a free oil filter and more during the Celebrate Free event at AutoZone, now through July 27th.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer with UCCU. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Overall, things are looking good. The crash that was eastbound I-80 going east from Highway 40 has cleared. Seeing some new slowdowns, though. This is southbound I-15 as you're making your way into Rose Park at 1000 North. Don't have a cause for that yet, but the rest of I-15 looks to be running at posted speeds. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to be mostly sunny today with highs in the mid-90s. Temperatures are only going to increase from here this weekend, reaching triple digits and possibly breaking records. A heat warning is in effect for much of northern Utah, so make sure to stay cool and hydrate as much as possible. Right now, though, it's 88 degrees and fair downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, we talked about energy in relation to data center projects, but there's one thing we have to talk about specifically about energy, and that's nuclear energy.
And that's actually a big topic in Utah, and there's some strong feelings on both sides, and so we thought it might be helpful to get to the real story behind it.
So KSL News Radio's Maria Chaleos has a brand new podcast. It's called the KSL News Daily, and today and tomorrow has gone into a major deep dive on nuclear. Your goal to get to the real story, Maria.
It's such an important topic. When we talk about data centers, they pretty much go hand in hand.
They do.
Because they take a lot of power, and we need to find other ways to power things. Like we need more power. And since the state is growing and people are storing more things on the cloud, there needs to be a way to make our lives. We're not going to give up your phone, are you?
No,
Okay.
probably not,
So-
unless I'm forced to.
No, or your computer. So, we need to find ways to look at these things. And so what I did is I talked to various groups. I interviewed the Senior Vice President for Policy and Public Affairs at the Nuclear Energy Institute. I spoke with the folks at Heal Utah. I spoke with Mary Dixon, who is a downwinder. She is a survivor of cancer and an advocate for those who have been exposed to radiation. I went up to the University of Utah's nuclear lab because I wanted to get down to the science of it and really, hear what is good about nuclear, what is bad about nuclear, how should we be looking at it. And the director at the lab was fantastic too. So people say, what have you learned? What do you think? I'm like, I'm conflicted.
Oh.
I'll be honest. We need to ask a lot of very tough questions. It's an important issue. We need to have ways to power these things. But let you listen to, this is a senior policy associate let me go to John Kotek. He's a senior vice president for policy and public affairs at the Nuclear Energy Institute. And here's why he says mini reactors are the future.
Once you fuel a nuclear reactor, it'll run between 18 and 24 months before you have to shut it down to put new fuel in it. So you're not dependent on shipments of coal or gas in a pipeline or what have you. Nuclear also doesn't produce carbon emissions or other air pollutants. And things like nuclear have a real role to play in cleaning up air quality in the West.
So what do you know about these mini reactors? Because we think of these nuclear reactors, these huge things out in the desert
Right.
with these big cooling towers and
They're
a lot
not.
going on. And then you also think of a submarine that is powered by nuclear reactors, so it's got to be of some limited size. And we're talking about these mini reactors, which to me seem like they make some sense.
To maybe power a neighborhood or
Right.
something.
And they do provide a lot of power with very little waste. But the biggest problem is not the space for them because they take very little space. The biggest problem is that right now there's no place to store hazardous waste, radioactive, this high level, I shouldn't call it high level, but this type of radioactive waste. So that's our biggest problem right there. But then you do have people like Mary Dixon from who is a downwinder, who is very concerned about how this is all happening.
It's not just reactors. They're pushing for the facilities for every step, like to develop uranium for reactors, to mine it, mill it, fabricate it, enrich it, all of that. And they're looking at these throughout the state.
Okay. So she really is concerned about how things are being pushed through too quickly.
The idea
Let me get
that
that
they would be so cavalier and just welcome nuclear energy and everything that goes with it, including nuclear waste, into our state, makes us expendable. And you think with our legacy, we would be far, far more cautious and just say no.
Did you say she's not only a
She's a
downwinder, but a
downwinder and
thyroid cancer survivor? Oh, my
Yes,
word.
she
I
definitely
have to ask you a question though, and this is me playing devil's advocate this time. One of the things that I've heard so much about the new generation of nuclear energy and reactors is that they are much safer, that there's a lot less waste, that's a lot less radioactive, they take a lot less water. And in fact, I hear ads on our own radio station that say that there's like more radiation in a banana peel. Can you talk to me about those arguments?
Okay, well, first of all, Mary Dixon really takes that to task and says that's malarkey.
Okay.
Whether that's malarkey or not, I can't say to you, but she is questioning why they would say something like that.
Sure.
Is it true that that they're safer? They definitely are. We've had nuclear energy in our country for 60 years. We haven't heard a lot of accidents, right? And, Dr. Ted Goodell, he's the director of the nuclear lab at the University of Utah, and he says if people are concerned, they can look to the testimonies of people who already live next to these power plants.
When we design nuclear power plants, we don't just design them to prevent accidents, we design them to contain accidents. So that even in a worst case scenario for a nuclear power plant, all of the nasty radioactive material will stay at the plant.
So let me ask you this then, because up at the University of Utah, they have had some sort of nuclear power something
he's
for quite a while.
Yes, they've had it for 50 years. It's been the only functioning one until just a month ago.
Wow.
In the state of Utah. So, and is it safe? He believes it's safe. Is there a possibility of an accident? Mary Dixon says nobody can be 100% sure that there won't be an accident. And I think what most people can really agree to is a lot of questions need to be answered. Regulations need to be put in place before all of these facilities go online. I even asked the question of, well, we've heard that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is kind of backing off on all of their requirements. And the man from the Nuclear Energy Institute said it is true that they are trying to be more efficient with the way that they deliver information, but that doesn't mean that the regulations have gone away. But we need to be asking some tough questions. You know, how are these going to be safe?
When we talked to you, Maria, before we started, you said that there's a lot on both sides, and you've been conflicted just yourself, just in doing this story. And I mean, it seems like this is coming down the tracks. That nuclear power, at least in these mini reactors, is something that's probably going to be part of our future. But there's a lot of concerns from people still, like Mary Dixon, people that are downwinder, like, hey, wait a minute, don't bring it in my neighborhood. There's still a lot of concern about the safety of them.
Well, and Mary Dixon's point would be it's not just in somebody else's backyard. Look what happened to her when they did that nuclear testing. She lived here in Salt Lake. She didn't live out by the testing range, right? But the wind, they've shown how the wind patterns would carry that radiation into urban areas. So it's not in somebody else's backyard. She wants you to think about this isn't just in somebody else's backyard, that this could affect many people. Is it less risky than it was 60 years ago? Absolutely.
Right.
Much less risky. Is it is it proper to be looking at this? For sure, because we're going to need different forms of energy.
So we only have a few seconds left, but I think it's interesting. There are other countries, especially France, that are really reliant on nuclear. Do we feel some confidence then because we can point to other countries who use a lot of it?
Both the man from the Energy Institute and the director at the lab up at the University of Utah say yes, we can.
All right.
But
Thanks
you have
for
to listen to
joining
the
us.
full interviews.
Yes.
I've just given you little snippets of information.
Where do we
Decide
find
for
it?
yourself. You can find the KSL News Daily anywhere you listen to your podcast.
All right, wonderful.
5 a.m., man, is when they drop.
Yep.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next on Inside Sources, you probably heard that elephants are scared of mice. Have you ever wondered why, or if it's even true? Well, we'll finish today's story with what scientists are really saying. Stay with us.
Do you love your front door? Does it improve the curb appeal of your home? Does it feel secure and new and perfect for your home? No? Let me direct you to Peach Windows and Doors, where everything they do is custom. They can install a front door or a basement door or a big door that you could drive a car through if you wanted to. And the knobs on these doors are not just knobs. They're like a locking system that works like a safe. These are the most secure doors, and Peach builds those doors. So when they install, they are custom custom fit to your home. You can even have an option to have like a glass window on the side of your door. They're called operable side light doors, and they can open themselves, which would allow you to move something large in or out of the house. It's just all of the custom features that we can do for you at Peach Windows and Doors. I encourage you to stop by their showroom on 3rd West at 2940 South, or see some of the beautiful doors and windows online at peachwindowsanddoors.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now, or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The Blocks celebrates Salt Lake City's creative spirit by transforming underutilized spaces into vibrant destinations. This summer, that includes a new community gathering space on Main Street. Director of The Blocks, Lucas Horns, shares what's happening downtown this season.
This summer, a once empty corner of Main Street comes alive with the Art Garden, a free outdoor pop-up at 150 South Main Street every Thursday and Friday from 5 to 8 p.m., now until September. Enjoy local artists, live music, and a creative space unlike any other downtown. And the Art Garden is just the beginning. Just steps away, experience Sonder SLC, Kelly Freshman's immersive photography exhibit on the Vasilios Priscos Walkway. Every Saturday, the Downtown Farmers Market fills Pioneer Park with fresh produce, local makers, and morning energy, while the Twilight Concert Series brings major acts to the Gallivan Center. At the Eccles Theater, Alicia Keys' Tony Award-winning musical Hell's Kitchen takes the stage. Add in more than 200 bars and restaurants, and there's something for everyone downtown. This is the season downtown shines brightest. Just wander downtown to discover your fun.
By turning empty spaces into creative ones, The Blocks is proving that art is good for business and for downtown. To plan your visit to the Art Garden and beyond, go to theblocksslc.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources.
Well, some people might know her for this. I Need a Hero. Or other people might know her for this. This is the one I know. Bonnie Tyler was a major voice of the 1980s.
And overnight, she passed away unexpectedly, I read, at the age of 75. So most people might know her for that, the Total Eclipse of the Heart. But the first one, the I Need a Hero, it was made famous in a movie right here in Utah, shot right here. It was Footloose.
Yeah, it was a name that I hadn't thought about forever. In fact, if someone asked me who wrote and sang and performed Total Eclipse of the Heart, I would have said, you tell me. She had a raspy voice, kind of a nasty voice, but beautiful, and that was a pretty song.
A lot of the pictures that I've seen talking about her passing today include a picture from the 80s, and the thing that stands out to me is the 80s hair. It's like gigantic.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you, Bonnie Tyler, for some songs that I remember singing along to.
Yeah, and going back to the 80s and thinking about those. Yep.
All right, today is, I want to tell you first about a story that I read that I just thought was so fun. So you mentioned it in the intro part, really, why do elephants avoid mice? So what have you heard about
I heard that they're
elephants
afraid
and mice?
of them, that they're
Right.
like we are with spiders or something, like, ew.
Right, that they're included, like they've been included in Disney movies, and they in fact, it even goes back to ancient Greece where they created this like story that elephants are afraid of mice. Well, it's not actually true. So this is what scientists have found. They wanted to test it out. They wanted to test this theory. So they did a test where they hid a mouse under a piece of dried up elephant poop, and then they tied a string to the dried out dung, and then they pulled it away so that the mouse could run to see how elephants actually responded. What they did is they said they slowed down, but they didn't exhibit any of the other fear actions that they take when, like, they didn't trumpet to alert the rest of their troop. They didn't actually jump. They slowed down. And so what they're theorizing really is that these elephants, first of all, we know elephants are very self-aware, but that they weren't afraid of the mouse, but they didn't want to squish the mouse.
Oh, they're just being nice.
They're just being
so
nice.
Elephants aren't afraid of mice. They're just afraid of hurting a mice.
Yeah, and they say there's documented stuff about them being very careful around snakes that are on the ground. Look, a snake is not going to hurt an elephant.
No,
it's not.
neither is a mouse.
Right. And neither is a mouse, right? But it's just funny that there's this whole myth that has surrounded that.
Because they go out of their way to avoid them.
Yeah, because they go out of their way to avoid them.
They don't want to hurt them, right.
And one of the other parts of that myth is that somehow they can, the mouse could get stuck in their trunk and then they would suffocate. Also, totally not true.
Right.
All they have to do is one little sneeze or partial sneeze or blow their nose, basically, and
get rid of a mouse.
That
pretty
mouse
quickly.
is going to go flying. So I just thought that was a really cute / fun story that it's not actually true that elephants are afraid of mice.
Okay, well, good.
So, okay, now I have some fun facts. Okay, so this is a really funny on this day. It's not just on this day. So this day is Don't Put All Your Eggs in One Omelet Day. How people come up with some of these, I don't even know. But we're at July 9th, and it was on this day in 1846 that the United States, as it existed at the time, took San Francisco from Mexico. I didn't know the Mexican territory extended all the way up to San Francisco.
That far north, yeah.
I knew it came into Utah. It was also on this day in 1850 that U.S. President Zachary Taylor died unexpectedly. And I don't know if you remember this story, but he ate a bowl of cherries and drank a glass of cold milk, and 5 days later he was dead. It wasn't the cherries or the milk necessarily. I mean, they're saying now that they think he died of cholera. But I remember that story from when I was a kid. It's like, oh, don't eat cherries and drink milk because it'll kill you.
Yeah. I don't remember that.
We've talked about this multiple times on our show. It was on this day in 1868 that the 14th Amendment was ratified, granting citizenship and equal protection under the laws to anyone born or naturalized in the United States. So we've talked about that.
Yeah, 1868.
Yep. It was 1877, and this is a little bit of a surprise to me, partially because I don't really follow sports, but the first Wimbledon tournament began in July 1877.
And it's always held around this time of year, around the 4th of July.
Which kind of sounds miserable, to be honest, right? Playing out in the heat. That doesn't sound that fun. This is just a person, Dorothy Thompson. She was an advocate for women's suffrage, a journalist. This is her birthday, 1893. It was 1977 that Alice Paul died. And the reason that is interesting to me is because Alice Paul was a suffragist with the National Women's Party who worked to get the 19th Amendment ratified in 1920. And she didn't die until 1977. So she lived all the way through multiple decades. The work, do you know what her work was after the 19th Amendment was ratified?
I don't.
It was to get the ERA ratified.
I was going to say it must have been focusing
Isn't
on
that so interesting? Alice Paul. Right. Yeah, so she lived until she was 92 and she died on this day in 1977. So speaking of the court decisions or U.S. Supreme Court, they're related, I promise. 2018, Donald Trump chose Brett Kavanaugh to fill a seat on the U.S. Supreme Court. And then in 2019, Ross Perot, if you remember that name,
ran for president.
He did. He ran for president twice, actually, 1992 and 96. But it was in 2019. He passed away of leukemia at age 89.
And people said, well, you just can't elect somebody because they're a billionaire. That'll never happen.
Well, and here we are. Okay. What are your closing arguments for the day, Greg?
You're probably expecting me to go back to Tyler Robinson. I'm not going there. I kind of said more than I should have already, so I'm going to quit that. But I do want to say something about you. You made a great point that I think a lot of Americans don't appreciate, and that it was the 14th Amendment was ratified on this date in 1868. I did the math. I may be wrong. That's 158 years ago that we had the 14th Amendment, which granted equal protection under the laws. That's one thing we talk about with the 14th Amendment, equal protection. That's great. Also, to grant citizenship to anyone born or naturalized in the United States. So the Supreme Court came out with a decision last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the last week in June, and said that the president's order, executive order, was intended to change or tweak or do away with the 14th Amendment citizenship clause was unconstitutional because the Constitution provided it. And people were, and I continue to read people who are just outraged at this thing. And I want to say the Supreme Court didn't say people born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. They said people born or naturalized in the United States are continued to be citizens as they have been for 158 years. So people are just all upset that, oh my word, people can just come here and have a baby and all of a sudden they're citizens of the United States. What's wrong with this country? People, it's been the law for 158 years, and it was enacted for a good reason because at the time we'd freed the slaves, and some people in some parts of the country said, well, then we're going to send them all back home. And the legislature and the public said, no, they've been here, they were born here, let's make them citizens. And it made perfect sense. And we've had case after case after case. We had a very important case, it was almost 100 years ago, involving a Chinese person who was born here in the United States. And the Supreme Court said, well, you know what, he's born here. And the 14th Amendment seems to say that. So what happened in the Supreme Court 2 weeks ago wasn't earth-shattering. It wasn't new. What the president tried to do would have been earth-shattering, and it would have been new. He tried to change the 14th Amendment by an executive order. The Supreme Court said you can't do that. It may change. The 14th Amendment could very well change. But for people to say, what are we doing wrong in this country because all of a sudden we're granting citizenship to people who are born here are wrong. It's been that way for a long time. And so I mean, and I appreciate what we do with our Constitution. It's the 14th Amendment. It's 158 years old. I think about the first 10 amendments, which are now 200 years old. The Bill of Rights. They're so important at what we do. And anyway.
Thank you for those closing